Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Awaken the weakest talent. I rejected the school flower. Chapter 21. $4,000. What about this? 3,000 yuan. Good. After taking away all the materials in the two corpse backpacks, Chen Ang nodded in satisfaction. No wonder so many people like to be hunters. In just a short time after entering the secret realm, I made 7,000 yuan, not to mention how fast the money came. Shaking his head, Chen Ang came to the ruins. Looking around, prompts keep emerging. Move forward. Yes, continue. Yes, keep going. Okay, it's under your feet, you can dig, but it's better to be careful, otherwise it's easy to damage. Chen Ang immediately started digging. Follow the prompts carefully. Dusty ruins are constantly being excavated. After a while, a scroll like a parchment appeared in Chen Ang's field of vision. Is this the treasure? Frowning, Chen Ang picked up the scroll and opened it and looked at it. On the far right is a picture. Lifelike pictures. It looks like a huge ancient tree with lush branches. On the left is a string of text. At the top, there is a name. Ancient tree view ideas. Close double angle bracket. View ideas. What? A look of doubt flashed in Chen Ang's eyes, and he continued to look seriously. After a while, Chen Ang read the above content. His breathing was suddenly rapid, and surprise flashed in his eyes. So that's the case, is this the view? Rely on visualization to improve mental strength. He looked serious and surprised. I didn't know there was such a thing in this world. The so-called contemplation is a kind of meditative existence. Visualize yourself as something else, condense your spirit, and elevate your spirit. It can be understood as a kind of cultivation method. This thing, for some people, is useless. For some, it's a treasure. Why? For those who are useless, they don't push the limit. As long as all the characteristics are activated, as long as the materials are collected to make the evolution potion, it will be taken directly and the talent will be evolved. Therefore, it is the same whether there is a view or not. But for the gifted person who pursues the limit, this thing seems to be necessary. It is too difficult to simply rely on Tianside about to reach the limit. It was fine at first. But what about the back? Second order. Tier 3, Tier 4, even in the 7th and 8th order, where can there be so many treasures of heaven and earth to take for you? In this case, if you want to pursue the limit, I am afraid you need other methods. And now, Chen Ang knows. Viewing ideas is one of them. But this is specifically for spiritual power. Perhaps there are also specific ones for the physique. Chen Ang guessed in his heart. All in all, this stuff is good stuff. Chen Ang can't wait to start practicing. After all, his spiritual power is slow to improve. It's good to have natural materials and earth treasures, but if you don't have them, it will be difficult to reach the limit. But for now, don't worry. After thinking for a while, Chen Ang put away the scroll and got up to get to the ruins first. At that time, you can also take the new Tianside Bao to enhance your body. With a decision, Chen Ang continued to set off. Run all the way down. Chen Ang is getting closer and closer to where the ruins are. When he was about to reach the relic location, Chen Ang stopped. Looking around, Chen Ang's mouth twitched. It's here. This is a gravel area near a big mountain. There are huge stone pillars. Stepping into it, Chen Ang found an open space and simply sat down. Wait until tomorrow. If Xie Kengning really wants to take revenge on me, I will give him time to find me. If he doesn't come tomorrow, he will enter the ruins first. This is Chen Ang's thinking at this time. Taking out the thunderbolt fruit, Chen Ang took a bite. The pulp enters the abdomen down the throat. Sizzle. Blue thunder appeared, filling the surface of Chen Ang's body. A pain swept through the body. But at the same time, the body has been improved under the tempering of thunder. Compared to yesterday, Chen Ang's tolerance is much improved today. With patience, the pain subsided. Cool. Feeling the rising power in his body, Chen Ang grinned, revealing an excited smile. This feeling of power uplifting is, to be honest, a little mesmerizing. Just this time, Chen Ang looked back suddenly. There is no trace. But vaguely, the sound of running footsteps sounded. Then a shadowy figure entered Chen Ang's sight. Long black hair and a light blue tight-fitting combat uniform wraps the graceful body, showing it perfectly, which is extremely attractive. Seeing this figure, Chen Ang's eyes flashed with surprise. Xiao Yiqing. Chen Ang. Xiao Yiqing's face was pale, and it seemed that he was being hunted down. There were several wounds on his body, so that the tights were cracked, revealing the tender white and flushed skin inside. Seeing Chen Ang, Xiao Yiqing also had a surprised look on his face. But then, she gritted her teeth. Can you help me? What's up? Chen Ang asked with a frown. Someone is chasing me, help me drive away the other party. The voice just fell. Another figure rushed from behind Xiao Yiqing. A strong figure, although it exudes a first-order breath, it gives people a sense of oppression like a beast. Strong. Attributes are definitely high. He stared at Xiao Yiqing, greed flashed in his eyes, and grinned. Little girl, hand over the things, I can let you go, otherwise, labor and management have always wanted to try what it's like to have a corpse. And the kid over there, hurry up and get out, otherwise, I don't mind breaking your head later. Hear this. Xiao Yiqing's face turned even paler. But biting his lip, he forcibly suppressed his fear and looked at Chen Ang with a request in his eyes. Chen Ang glanced at the man indifferently, then looked at Xiao Yiqing. Why is he chasing you? Because this. Xiao Yiqing took out a stone from his arms, and his whole body was tense at the same time. Seems to prevent grabbing. However, when Chen Ang saw the stone, he subconsciously breathed quickly and said with surprise. You actually found this kind of thing in the novice secret realm. Talent stone. When the talent is promoted from the first order to the second order, the second talent can be obtained. Among them, the talent stone is the most important. But this stuff is very rare. It is rare to find, even rarer than a space ring, and it has a price and no market. No wonder he was hunted down. Boy, listen to my advice, hurry up, or else. Seeing that Xiao Yiqing took out the talent stone, the strong man looked gloomy, and immediately threatened Chen Ang, clenching his fists, and his body was even more ferocious. He didn't want a 1-2. Even if he is confident that he can win 1-on-2, after all, Xiao Yiqing's breath is unstable and he can't exert much fighting power. But Chen Ang, who has always been indifferent, went to make him feel uneasy, so he didn't want any accidents to happen. It's just that Chen Ang was unmoved by his words, still staring at the talent stone. This thing, he was moved. After a moment of silence, Chen Ang looked at Xiao Yiqing and said directly, give me the talent stone, and I'll kill him for you, how about that? Xiao Yiqing hesitated, but then he stood firm and nodded. Can. I don't know how to live or die, you are courting death. Seeing Chen Ang really moved his mind, the strong man was instantly furious. Without hesitation, the terrifying speed broke out, and he took the lead in attacking, and punched Chen Ang with a punch. Chen Ang looked up, and a killing intent emerged. The dragon scales cover the wrist to the 5 fingers, and the ferocious aura is released frantically. Boom! The dragon claws waved and attacked. A powerful force came. A look of surprise flashed in Chen Ang's eyes. Power talent. Boy, go to hell. The man growled fiercely. Increase the strength, to kill Chen Ang with 1 punch. Roll. Chen Ang sneered, not afraid at all. Even if the strength talent brings a strength bonus, or even doubled. But so what? If it was before, Chen Ang might still be afraid. But now, he is confident that he is stronger. The violent force erupted with the surging of the dragon's muscles, directly knocking the man back a few steps. Seizing the opportunity, Chen Ang swung his paw again. Tear claws. Hu Kai. The sound of breaking the air sounded, as if firecrackers exploded in midair. Death to lousy. Furious blow. The man roared, also not afraid. Since he woke up, he has never lost a head-to-head match. Not to mention he also has a skill bonus. But when the dragon claws and fists meet together, a puff sounded. The man suddenly made a shrill voice. He only felt a terrifying power strike, and his fist bones were torn abruptly under the dragon's claws. The fist was cut several times by the dragon's claws, and the blood was dripping, and the flesh and blood were torn off. There was even a terrifying force that attacked and blasted the man out. No, that's impossible. Fear flashed in the man's eyes, staring at Chen Ang. You are just awakened, how can you have such a powerful force? He couldn't believe it. Nothing is impossible. Chen Ang sneered, stepped out, and chased away. Don't give men a chance at all. The dragon claws waved and struck again. Tear claw. The skill is cast again. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. The man roared, Even if his fist was injured, there was still severe pain. But he also didn't want to wait to die. Forcibly enduring the pain, he also burst out with a full-strength blow, and a punch containing skills greeted him. But at this moment, Chen Ang waved the tearing claw, subconsciously adjusted the subtle posture, at the same time concentrating on the strength of the dragon claw, and swept out with one claw. Puff! Without even making a scream, the dragon claws forcibly grabbed the man's wrist, and then carried terrifying power, attacked the man's neck, and tore off his head like a ball. Roll on the ground. Blood splashes. The tragic scene made Xiao Yiqing behind him turn pale, and a feeling of nausea emerged. To this, Chen Ang didn't care, just stared at his tearing claw, and couldn't help grinning with an excited smile. Promoted. That's right. The proficiency level of the tearing claw has finally been raised. From entry level to proficient level. That's why the blow just now directly kills the man. Otherwise it won't be so easy. Have to say this is good news. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang suppressed his excitement, looked back at Xiao Yiqing, and said, "Bring the talent stone here." Heard. Xiao Yiqing hesitated for a while, but nodded. "Okay, here it is." Although a little reluctant, Xiao Yiqing kept his promise and handed the talent stone to Chen Ang. After getting the talent stone, Chen Ang looked at it carefully, and his eyes became even more excited. To be honest, Chen Ang didn't expect to get one so soon. "Hey, why don't you say thank you?" Seeing Chen Ang, who has been keeping her eyes on the talent stone and doesn't care about her at all, Xiao Yiqing couldn't help but said, as a wounded beautiful woman more beautiful than a stone. Hearing the voice, Chen Ang raised his head, put away the talent stone and pouted. "Why say thank you? This is what I deserve." Straight man. Xiao Yiqing rolled his eyes immediately. Confirmed. Straight man of steel. At such a time, an ordinary man is injured when he encounters a beautiful woman like himself. Even if he gets a talent stone, shouldn't he take the opportunity to pity the fragrance and cherish the jade? She couldn't help muttering, "You won't have a girlfriend like this." In this regard, Chen Ang did not care at all. "It doesn't matter, the strength is strong, I want to find a woman easily." "You can't have true love." "Sorry, no need, as long as you can vent your desires." Quote. Xiao Yiqing's eyes widened, she couldn't believe she would get this answer. But also more certain. Absolutely straight guy. Humph. But, seeing Chen Ang, who continued to sit cross-legged on the spot, as if he was about to practice, Xiao Yiqing couldn't help but flickered and became a little curious. Didn't notice before. She only remembered now that her classmate had never been known in school before. If he hadn't awakened his talent, he probably wouldn't even know him. And even if the talent is awakened, it is a recognized dragon claw talent that cannot be evolved, and she will not care about it. But the scene just now made Xiao Yiqing doubtful. Is the dragon claw talent so powerful? Xiao Yiqing is still very aware of the opponent's strength when it comes to chasing his own people. Strong. At least he is not an opponent. But Chen Ang can kill the opponent with one blow. Doesn't this mean that if Chen Ang wants to kill himself, it is also a trick? Thinking of this, Xiao Yiqing quickly shook his head. Impossible. Even if the dragon claw is powerful, it is not as powerful as this kind of thing. In other words, it is not the dragon claw that is powerful, but Chen Ang. A trace of curiosity began to spread in my heart. Xiao Yiqing couldn't help but walked over and asked, "Hey, Chen Ang, what are you doing sitting here?" Cultivation. Shouldn't everyone come to the secret realm to hunt for treasure? Wait someone. Who? The enemy. Chen Ang opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Yiqing, who was a goddess with a good appearance and a good figure in front of him, and said helplessly, "Shouldn't you hurry up and leave? Why do you want to leave? I'm not in danger now." Xiao Yiqing even sat beside Chen Ang with a puzzled look, and took out some medicines to recover from the injury. Seeing this, Chen Ang reminded, "I suggest you leave quickly, otherwise, when my enemy comes, maybe you will die here." "I don't believe it. What kind of enemy will you be so powerful?" Xiao Yiqing rolled his eyes. The scene just now had been deeply imprinted in her mind, making her feel that in the novice secret realm, no one could be more brutal than Chen Ang. In this regard, Chen Ang just said something lightly. "It may be second order." Xiao Yiqing froze suddenly, looking at Chen Ang. "I really want to ask what you did to provoke the enemy of a second order talent." But in the end, Xiao Yiqing held back and took a deep breath. Okay, I'd better leave quickly. You are also powerful enough to provoke a second-order talent. Chen Ang shook his head, didn't answer, just closed his eyes and studied the ancient tree concept. Gradually, footsteps sounded in my ears. Xiao Yiqing seems to have left. But the next moment, a hot breath hit his cheeks, itching. Chen Ang opened his eyes subconsciously. A delicate face came into view, very close. It was Xiao Yiqing, who was bending over, putting his face in front of Chen Ang, and staring at him with a smile. Chen Ang frowned slightly. What are you doing? Don't do anything, just ask you for something before leaving. What? Hee, contact information. Really? Looking at Xiao Yiqing's leaving back, Chen Ang shook his head helplessly. In the end, he handed over his contact information. After Xiao Yiqing could no longer be seen, Chen Ang closed his eyes and continued to practice the idea of ancient trees. It seems that Chen Ang is very savvy. In this regard, I got started very quickly and successfully started to visualize. After the visualization was over, Chen Ang opened his eyes, took out his mobile phone and checked the time, with a surprised look in his eyes. 7 hours have passed. He didn't notice it at all. I thought it was only 10 minutes later. It takes time. Chen Ang murmured, but the next moment, his heart moved, and after looking at his spiritual attributes, he suddenly widened his eyes, showing a shocking color. Hey, my spiritual attributes have increased so much directly. His previous attributes were fine, 59, extreme, 100. But now, it has become essence, 64, extreme, 100. This rate of increase can be said to be terrifying. It's only a few hours. If you practice for a few days, isn't it equivalent to taking a heavenly treasure that increases your spiritual power? After the shock, Chen Ang's eyes already burst into excitement. Yes, after this, it may not take long before my mental power attribute can reach the limit. But I don't know why, there is always a sour feeling. Is it because of thinking? Chen Ang frowned, immediately shook his head. The sky has dimmed. Chen Ang was a little disappointed. And no one came. Is Xie Kangning not planning to really take revenge? Or did you not find yourself? That's it. Chen Ang was too lazy to think too much. After building a bonfire on the spot, he took out the beast meat from the space ring and roasted it. After dinner, continued to practice. In a blink of an eye, the night passed. The next morning, 6 o'clock. After Chen Ang opened his eyes, he took a deep breath and glanced at his spiritual attributes. Increased again, from 64 feet to 70 feet. But Chen Ang frowned. The rate of growth has slowed. Is it because the further you go, the harder it is to improve? It should be so, but as long as there is some growth. A new day came. Chen Ang took out his last treasure. It is a power fruit specially designed to increase strength. Take out the fruit and eat it in one bite. The juice is full and the pulp tastes good. I have to say, these Tiansai bao taste really good. It's a pity not much, otherwise Chen Ang really wouldn't mind eating it as a snack. Well, although a bit of a loser. With Tiansai bao swallowed into the abdomen, that familiar feeling floated inside me. Strength began to increase. A long time. Ascension ends. Chen Ang subconsciously threw his fist, and the sound of breaking through the air sounded impressively. Not in a hurry to check the attributes, Chen Ang first got up, practiced alone, punched and kicked, so as to master his improved strength. After practicing for about 10 minutes, Chen Ang stopped, moved slightly, and checked the attributes. Force, 84, limit, 100. A full 20-point increase in strength. So terrifying. This strength, coupled with the explosive effect of dragon muscles and tearing claws. Chen Ang felt that among the first-order talents, aside from some arrogant demons, he was probably invincible, right? After all, maybe someone's attributes are higher than their own. After all, there is no shortage of wealthy children who will continue to swallow the treasures of heaven and earth after awakening to maximize their attributes. But Chen Ang doesn't think that other people's talents are as powerful as his own, let alone that someone has activated all the characteristics of talents now. I don't even think that someone has upgraded a skill to the proficient level. Call. He exhaled deeply with excitement, suppressing the excitement in his heart. Chen Ang started to prepare breakfast. After eating, he got up and went straight to the direction of the ruins. Since Xie Kangning's revenge is in the future, Chen Ang doesn't take it to heart. After running all the way, Chen Ang, who was not far away, soon reached his destination. It should be in this mountain. Whispering like this, Chen Ang urged Goldfinger. A prompt appears. Not in this direction. Another. That's right, in this direction. After going straight for 500 meters, there are several boulders. After breaking them, you will find the entrance to the ruins. If it's 500 meters, it's not far. With a secret thought in his heart, Chen Ang quickened his pace. Fast forward. Soon, Chen Ang arrived at the place. Sure enough, I saw a lot of boulders. However, these boulders were piled up together and partially buried in the soil. Those who didn't know it thought it was part of the mountain. No wonder no one ever found out. In fact, you don't need to break the boulder, walk aside, lift the stone, and you will find an entrance. The prompt reappeared. Chen Ang's eyes lit up, and he walked to the side as instructed to lift the slate buried in the soil under his feet. Sure enough, a dark entrance appeared in front of him. This should be the entrance opened by the previous hunters. Chen Ang guessed the answer instantly in his mind. This is also good, so as not to continue to spend energy. Call. After taking a deep breath, Chen Ang stepped into the entrance, and put down the stone slab to cover the passage, so as not to be discovered by others. After doing all this, Chen Ang began to look around. A long passage that goes deep into the ground is extremely dark. After taking out his phone and turning on the lighting settings, Chen Ang went all the way in. You can move forward with confidence and boldness, without any traps, because you have not really stepped into the ruins. The prompt in front of him made Chen Ang stop worrying and speed up. About 2 minutes later, Chen Ang passed through the passage and finally stepped into the area of the ruins. In front of you is a huge underground space. A tall building occupies the entire space. Chen Ang doesn't know what's going on inside the building. All he could see was the building door closed. And beside the gate, there was a puppet standing there quietly. Outside the gate, there were many torches burning with a faint green light, so that Chen Ang no longer needed to hold his mobile phone, so he closed it. Glancing at the puppet, Chen Ang's heart moved. A well-made puppet of the blood sect. The material is hard. If you fight with all your strength, you can still solve this puppet, but it is recommended that you can attack its left rib, which is its core. Hey, is there a weakness? Chen Ang's eyes lit up. This is good news. After all, there might be danger in that underground palace building. He didn't want to waste too much energy on this puppet. But what is the blood cult? Is the power represented by this underground palace? I have to say, the name sounds pretty cool. However, after finding that there was no relevant information in his mind, he was too lazy to continue thinking about it. Twisting his neck and making a crackling sound like bones colliding, Chen Ang clenched his fists with both hands and walked out of the passage, ready to start working. The puppet who had been standing quietly at the entrance of the underground palace instantly found Chen Ang, and a red light suddenly lit up in his eyes. There is no doubt that the appearance of the enemy made this puppet start. Puppets are humanoids, like little giants. After starting at this moment, a swooshing sound rang out. Immediately afterwards, an orange light burst out from the puppet's eyes. Chen Ang was a little surprised that the puppet could still attack from a distance, but the response was not slow. He quickly turned around to dodge, and then rushed towards the puppet. Hu Kai. The sound of breaking air sounded again. The puppet raised his right hand and stretched out sharp iron claws on his 5 fingers, which shot out and hit Chen Ang directly. This puppet has so many ways to attack. Chen Ang cursed inwardly and dodged again. At the same time, he was close to the puppet, and without any hesitation, the dragon's claws appeared, and he struck violently. Tear claw. Puff. With a full blow, Chen Ang did not hold back at all. But this attack landed on the core of the puppet, and it didn't break it completely, but damaged half of it. The degree of hardness shocked Chen Ang. My current full-strength blow is only half broken. Fortunately, I know the weakness. Otherwise, if it is really tough, even if I can win, I am afraid I will be injured. Take a deep breath. The puppet's claws have been withdrawn and attacked Chen Ang again. Light bursts out of the pupil. And at the same time there are claws sweeping attack. Chen Ang's eyes jumped, and he did not hesitate to dodge to the side, dodging the light's shot. But at the same time, the puppet's sharp claws containing majestic power also struck. Roll. With a low voice, Chen Ang's dragon claws waved, hitting hard, forming a wave of air that swept the surroundings. The powerful force carried by the puppet's blow is almost no weaker than that of Chen Ang. It can be seen that this puppet is terrible. But it's normal to think about it. Strictly speaking, the main opponents of this puppet are probably second-order talents. Chen Ang is a first-order anyway, and it is more difficult to deal with. But after all, Chen Ang's power is more certain. With his pupils condensed, Chen Ang's power exploded. With a bang, the puppet's claws were directly bounced out. Seizing the neutral opportunity of the puppet, aiming at the core of the puppet, Chen Ang attacked again. Break me. Dragon Claw contains terrible destructive power. The brutal blow landed directly on the core of the puppet. The power exploded, and the core of the puppet shattered instantly. Kacha, kacha. The naked eye could see that the puppet's movements slowly stopped, and the red light in his eyes slowly dissipated. Then, like a pile of scrap iron, it fell to the ground with a bang and lost its movement. Call. Chen Ang took a deep breath, looked at the puppet, and murmured in his heart. This puppet, if you don't know the weakness, it's still a little troublesome to solve, and you don't know how the blood sect made this thing. Shaking his head, Chen Ang looked at the gate of the underground palace and walked over. The gate is a stone gate, which is tightly closed at this time. You don't need a key to open it, just push it hard. Chen Ang raised his hands on the stone door, and then burst out with strength, gritted his teeth, and slowly pushed the door open, revealing a gap for Chen Ang to enter. Just looking at the gap in front of him, Chen Ang's eyes showed doubts. The open door allows you to enter the depths of the underground palace. The only good things are in the deepest, but be careful of the members of the blood sect. What are they planning in the deepest? But please don't worry too much, because as long as you are careful, your strength is enough to solve it. Are there any members of the blood sect? Chen Ang's eyes flickered. No doubt, this should be a force. But how could this force be in the secret realm? And still using a relic as a base in the secret realm? Forget it, I don't think so much. Since there are good things in it, and I can solve it, I can't miss it. Thinking of this, Chen Ang stopped talking nonsense and stepped into the underground palace. Said to be the underground palace. But it was empty inside. No shadow of people or things can be seen. There are also many rooms. Chen Ang scanned them one by one, and the prompts kept appearing in front of him. There is nothing in this door. There is no doubt that the same is true here. Don't look. Next one. Yes, it is this door, which leads to a deeper place. Finding the right path, Chen Ang opened the door. In front of him, another passage emerged, and it seemed to lead to a deeper part of the ground. Go with confidence, there is no danger in the passage. Call. Goldfinger indicated that there was no danger, which reassured Chen Ang a lot. Get up to speed and keep going. As he went deeper all the way, in less than 2 minutes, a bloody light appeared in front of Chen Ang. Chen Ang subconsciously slowed down and continued to go deeper. Gradually, a sound entered the ear. Boss, this blood pool should be almost accumulating, right? Well, soon, it should be in these few days. Hey, can we leave this ghost place then? We've been here for a year. Don't worry, when the blood essence matures, we hand in the blood essence first, and we will definitely get a lot of rewards. My God is at a critical moment. Blood essence is particularly important. As long as we complete the task, it will be a great credit. What materials do you want at that time? It's all easy. Tisk, I know, it's just the last few days. I hope there will be no accidents. What's the accident? This is just a novice secret realm in a small city, but there are no monsters in the big city. The puppet at the door is enough to deal with all the intruders. Hey, what the boss said is that I'm just a little worried. But the officials in this city are also trash. We killed so many people in the secret realm. Since we haven't been found, ha 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 ha. HMPH, I guess I thought it was a hunter's fight. Quote. Listen to these words. Chen Ang's eyes flickered. Blood essence. What? Listen to the sound. There seem to be only 2 people inside. After thinking for a moment, Chen Ang gritted his teeth and moved on. Soon, Chen Ang is approaching the end of the channel. Although he hasn't gone out yet, he can still see what's inside. A huge blood pool. The blood water in the blood pool is tumbling and shining. It is extremely not simple, and it has a strong bloody smell. A blood pool containing blood essence. The blood water in it contains precious blood essence. It is a must-have item for sacrifice to a certain boss. Jump into absorb blood essence, you can get a great improvement, but also it will provoke the blood sect, so consider it carefully. Is this blood essence? Chen Ang's heart moved, and his breathing became a little faster. Since it is a must-have item for sacrifice to a big boss, it is definitely a good thing. Since it is a good thing, then you have to decide. As for provoking the blood sect, as long as it gets stronger, who cares? However, Chen Ang did not act and continued to observe. Around the blood pool, blood-colored torches were lit, which looked very strange. Beside them, there were two men in black robes sitting on the ground, eating barbecue and chatting. Judging from the bed and quilt beside them, they should have been here for a long time. The two talents are first order and can be killed. Chen Ang murmured in his heart. After determining the breadth of the other party, the decision was made immediately. A murderous intent appeared in his eyes. A black-robed man seemed to have noticed something, and suddenly looked back and roared. Who is it? Get out! The moment the sound fell, Chen Ang rushed out, bursting at the fastest speed, waving his dragon claws to attack. Die! Hu Kai! The air exploded. Cold light flickered. A head leapt and blood spattered. The person who first discovered Chen Ang died on the spot, and there was no time to react. It can only be said that Chen Ang's timing was too good. And these two people were not vigilant enough. Otherwise, it will not be so easy to solve. The other one who saw his companion died suddenly burst out and punched Chen Ang with a fist. Roll! Chen Ang raised his hand and swung out a claw, and the powerful force directly blasted it away, hitting the wall hard, with a mouthful of blood spurting out of his mouth. He got up with a pale face, stared at Chen Ang, and said in shock. Why are you able to come in? Did you solve that puppet? What do you think? Chen Ang sneered. This is impossible. Seeing this, the man in black robe lost his voice in shock, revealing disbelief. Chen Ang was too lazy to explain, and had no idea of explaining, but the killing intent appeared in his eyes, and he waved his dragon claws to attack directly. Without any hesitation, the man in black robe immediately ducked without any thought of resisting. After all, the blow just now made him see the strength of Chen Ang, and he was not an opponent at all. Just while dodging, he threatened, whoever you are, I advise you to leave. Do you know who I am? Kill me, and the blood sect will not let you go. You must be dead by then. Hearing this, Chen Ang sneered. I killed your companions, do you think I will let you go? The sound fell. Puff! Chen Ang was faster and swung out with a claw. What? A shrill scream rang out. One arm was forcibly torn off by Chen Ang, and blood splattered. The man in black robe was shaking, but his eyes were fixed on Chen Ang with anger. Guy, if you want to kill me, then die together. He roared, and a seemingly ominous statue suddenly appeared on his left hand. At the same time, he bit the tip of his tongue, and blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. It seems that he wants to let his own blood pour into the statue. But at this moment, the sound of breaking air came. Chen Ang's figure suddenly appeared in front of him, and the dragon claws waved. What? The screams sounded again. The left arm was also torn apart by a blow from Chen Ang. The statue fell to the ground in an instant and was kicked away by Chen Ang. You think I'll give you a chance? Chen Ang sneered, and the dragon claws stabbed straight. Puff! The sharp dragon claws easily pierced through the chest of the black-robed man, and the moment it was pulled out, it seemed to grab something and grabbed it suddenly. The man in black robe suddenly widened his eyes and opened his mouth to say something, but his vitality passed at a terrifying speed, and the next second he turned into a corpse and fell to the ground. He waved his hand and shook off the blood on the dragon's claws. Chen Ang looked at the statue, and a hint appeared in front of him. The special statue has an ominous atmosphere and is also a summoning tool, which can be used by soaking it in blood. If you don't want to attract enemies, you'd better destroy it. Gee, looking at the prompt in front of him, Chen Ang was a little glad that he moved fast enough. Don't give those two a chance to fight back at all. Otherwise things are not so simple. After all, no one knows what level of existence this thing can summon. Shaking his head, Chen Ang came to the statue and stepped on it. Bang! The statue suddenly shattered, but at the same time, a burst of bloody light fell in front of Chen Ang and turned into an illusory figure. He glanced around, glanced at the two corpses on the ground, and then looked at the blood pool, and finally put his eyes on Chen Ang, and said coldly, "You killed them." Hearing this, Chen Ang grinned. "Are you blind? You wanna die?" A terrifying killing intent erupted, directly covering Chen Ang, giving people an unparalleled pressure. However, Chen Ang sneered. "What, do you want to kill me with your breath? I'm afraid you don't have that ability. A projection without any combat capability, you don't have to worry." Looking at the prompt about this figure in front of him, Chen Ang didn't panic at all. It's just a projection after all. And not surprisingly, he is also a member of the blood sect. This figure was wearing the same robe as the two men in black robes just now, but the person in front of him was a blood-colored robe with a dry face, like a rotten ancient tree, but based on this breath, it could be concluded that he was a strong man. But for Chen Ang, so what? Sen Han's killing intent flashed in the old man's eyes, but he seemed to know that he could not kill Chen Ang. After being silent for a while, he said solemnly, "I don't care who you are, get out of here, I can let go of the past, otherwise." "Otherwise what?" Chen Ang looked at him without any fear, and said coldly, "If you don't have the ability to kill me, just get out. Everyone is killed, do you think I will let go of the things in this blood pool? Or do you think I naively thought I left and it would be fine?" After the old man was silent for a while, his voice became colder and more hoarse. "Little devil, the consequences of provoking the blood sect are not something you can afford. Unfortunately, I've already provoked it." After killing a black-robed man from the very beginning, Chen Ang didn't care about the so-called blood sect. You can't put it in front of you because you're worried about revenge, right? He is not so NT. In a world where strength is respected, there is no competition. Where do the resources come from to become stronger? Heard. The killing intent around the old man almost turned into a blood red. Yu Han's eyes were fixed on Chen Ang. Chen Ang looked at him calmly. After a long time, the old man grinned, showing a cruel smile. "Little devil, I remember you. If you are brave enough, you can tell the old man your name. Come to me if you have the courage." Chen Ang's mouth twitched. "Remember, don't forget, my name is Xie Kangning." "Good, very good. Xie Kangning, right, the old man remembers it." The old man's voice was as cold as frost. "Wait, soon, you will know the consequences of offending the blood sect, Done. The figure of the old man disappeared immediately. After carefully scanning the surroundings with his gold finger and making sure that there are no traps in ambush, Chen Ang chuckled lightly. "I hope you come to me soon. Blood sect. Looks like a dangerous force. But that's okay. He is not afraid of the danger of the enemy." Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang raised his feet and walked towards the blood pool. The enemies are all over. Next, it's time to harvest. A jar of blood water full of qi and blood essence, take off your clothes and walk in, just like soaking in a hot spring. Trust me, you will feel great. This prompt looks weird, but after hesitating for a while, Chen Ang still took off his clothes and jumped into the blood pool. Suddenly, a strange feeling swept through the body. It was as if every pore on the skin was wildly opening. The thick blood wrapped around Chen Ang's body, as if a Zhongyu hand was stroking him. It's really cool. Pores all over the body opened. In the blood pool, there seemed to be a special energy that was absorbed into the body along the pores. And after these energies entered the body, they merged into the blood more vaguely, strengthening their body. If you just jumped into the blood pool, it was extremely refreshing, like soaking in a hot spring. But at this moment, it is extremely painful. It was as if the energy in the blood pool began to insert into the open pores like pinholes. Excruciatingly painful. What? Even Chen Ang couldn't help but let out a scream. The pain continued. The blood pool kept rolling. Gradually, the pain dissipated. Chen Ang was lying in the blood pool as if collapsed, gasping for breath. His eyes swept to the blood pool. The blood pool that seemed to be a little extraordinary at first, is now dimmed, and the blood is not thick. The energy inside seemed to be completely absorbed by Chen Ang. I don't know how long it took. When Chen Ang recovered almost, he slowly walked out of the blood pool, clenching his fists and waving gently. Hu Kai. The air exploded. The power has grown stronger. Chen Ang's eyes flickered. After taking a deep breath, my heart moved slightly and I checked the attributes. Chen Ang. Body. 100 pull, 100. Force, 100. Pull, 100. Min, 100. Pull, 100. Fine, 94. Pull, 100. Talent, Dragon Claw. Characteristics, Armor Break, Dragon Muscle. Double Strength Increase. Skill, Tier Claw. Proficient, 1.5 times the strength increase you need to increase your proficiency. Hiss, up so much. Chen Ang's eyes widened, revealing a touch of shock. But immediately, there was a hint of pity in his eyes. I didn't take strength fruit before I knew it, maybe I could keep it until the second order. Now, his physical attributes, except for his mental power, have all reached their limits. But that may not be the limit of the benefits that come from the blood pool. It's just because the body can't continue to improve after reaching the limit, so it only shows so much improvement. The energy in the blood pool is more to improve the physical attributes, while the mental power can only be improved here, and then we can only rely on thinking. Chen Ang murmured. Another important point is that although the energy of the blood pool is completely absorbed by him, but not fully consumed, but there are a lot of savings in the body waiting for refining. Chen Ang can feel this. Only after breaking through the limit and entering the second order can we continue to refine and improve. Hu Kai, Hu Kai, Hu Kai. Chen Ang threw his fists again, constantly bursting into the air. Power shocks. Chen Ang's face was full of excitement. This feeling is refreshing. Strength boost. Almost addicting. Fortunately, Chen Ang recovered quickly. After taking a deep breath to suppress his excitement, he immediately put on his clothes and began to grope on the corpses of the two members of the blood sect who had already died. But unfortunately, Chen Ang didn't find anything good. It's all stuff. But these two guys have obviously lived here for a long time. Even if there are any resources, it is estimated that they have already been used. Of course, it's not all good things. Chen Ang took out a book from a corpse. Fighting. These two people should belong to hard labor here. Originally, after they completed their tasks, it was no accident that they could rely on this hard labor to live a good life. Unfortunately, it was solved by Chen Ang. As for this fight, after Chen Ang opened it and glanced at it, there was a gleam in his eyes. The so-called fighting technique is actually some fighting routines and skills, which are summed up to form this fighting technique. Great effect, at least for Chen Ang. Because Chen Ang did not systematically learn how to fight, he has all come to this point by virtue of his hard power. If you learn combat, although you can't enhance attributes, enhance talents and the like, but it can also increase combat power. Not bad. Chen Ang nodded in satisfaction and put it away. The reason for not learning immediately is because next, Chen Ang intends to visualize first to improve his spiritual power. As long as the spiritual attributes are reached to the limit, the talent can be evolved. And the spiritual attribute distance reaches the limit, only 6 points away. Not surprisingly, it will be available tomorrow at the latest. Perhaps among all the talented people in the school, I might be the one with the fastest evolution. Chen Ang thought to himself. Taking a deep breath, he stopped thinking about it. Sit down with your legs crossed, and practice meditation. At the same time, somewhere in the secret realm. Where is that guy? A man with a scar on his face spoke savagely, killed a talented person and twisted his head off, looking around to determine the direction of progress. I originally wanted to solve it earlier and go back to enjoy it earlier, but I didn't expect that crumb to hide so much. Wait, when the labor and management find you, they will twist your head off with their own hands. He stepped into the secret realm for a long time. Never rested. Been running wildly, looking for it. And who is it looking for? No doubt, Chen Ang. It's just that Chen Ang didn't know anything about it. Maybe if you know, you won't care. After all, Chen Ang is ready to evolve his talent. Time flies. In a blink of an eye. A new day has come. Next to the blood pool in the depths of the underground palace. Chen Ang opened his eyes and frowned slightly. The sour feeling is becoming more and more obvious. This concept is not suitable for me. He came to a conclusion. From the moment he started to practice this meditation, his body had a vague sour feeling, which brought him a slight discomfort. Perhaps meditation is not something that can be practiced casually. It's just that Chen Ang doesn't know much about meditation. But after looking at his own attributes, Chen Ang felt that he should consider temporarily letting go of his meditation practice. Fine. 100 extreme, 100 Spiritual attributes have reached their limit. Under such circumstances, he is naturally not in a hurry to cultivate the view. Even after reaching the second level, there is no rush. After all, the sour feeling is becoming more and more obvious, and he doesn't want to bring any sequelae to himself because of cultivating views. When you go to university, maybe you can find a teacher and ask. Chen Ang murmured. In the university, there are special teachers to guide. If you are accepted as a student, you can even learn exclusive secrets. Shaking his head, after Chen Ang exhaled, his eyes began to flash with excitement. With a wave of his hand, a bottle of medicine appeared in his hand. There is no doubt that this is the talent evolution potion that Chen Ang had refined for himself before. It's finally possible to evolve. With a chuckle, Chen Ang opened the potion and took it without any hesitation. The medicine poured into the body along the throat. A burning sensation emerged. Dragon Claw began to evolve. As evolution begins, Chen Ang can clearly feel that his physical attributes are also improving. Without intentional circumstances, the dragon claws also emerged. And the dragon scales continue to spread to the skin above the elbow at a speed visible to the naked eye. The dragon scales that originally only covered under the elbow, now directly cover the entire arm, and are also covering the right shoulder. It was as if Chen Ang had been put on a layer of gauntlets, which made it more domineering and mighty at the same time. Strength. A very powerful force appeared on the right arm. But this is just the beginning, not the end. A gloomy breath emerged. Immediately afterwards, the originally crimson dragon scales quietly appeared a lacquer black. It's like ink dripping into a lake. All the dragon scales began to turn towards black. And there is a thick black mist coming out. This is the power of death. I don't know how long it has been. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. 10 minutes later. Evolution is the end. Chen Ang took a deep breath and stared at his right arm. The pitch-black dragon scales shone like armor. The thick black mist surged above the dragon scales, which was even more bizarre. The breath of death is permeating, very strong. Dragon Claw evolved into dead dragon arm. The previous features are still retained. And if you want to evolve again, you must continue to activate new features. Compared with the dragon's claw, the dead dragon's arm contains more terrifying destructive power. And it's not just as simple as covering the right arm, but even covering half of Chen Ang's body. If Chen Ang pulled off his clothes, he would be able to see the body on Chen Ang's right arm at this time, and many places were covered with dragon scales. Clenching his fist, Chen Ang swung his fist and hit the wall directly. A powerful force erupted, forming a loud boom. One after another cracks appeared like cobwebs, densely packed, all over the wall. Where Chen Ang hit, the walls were corroded at an extremely fast speed. Is this the dead dragon arm? Chen Ang murmured. The moment after the successful evolution, he understood the strength of the dead dragon arm. First, it is more destructive. Second, every attack comes with the erosion of death. Where a dead dragon's arm hits, if not well protected, it will dry up and rot. Strong. And there is also a feature of the dead dragon arm that may not be activated. Once activated, it will be even more terrifying. Next, its attributes. Chen Ang murmured, his heart moved. The property panel appears. Chen Ang. Body. 121 pull, 500. Force. 123 pull, 500. Min. 124 pull, 500. Fine. 119 pull, 500. Talent. Dead dragon arm characteristics. Armor break, dragon muscle double strength increase. Skill. Tier claw proficient 1.5 times the strength increase you need to increase your proficiency. The limit has been raised so much. Chen Ang looked surprised. The feedback obtained after the evolution of the talent makes its own attributes stronger. This point, Chen Ang is not surprised, because this is a very normal thing. It's just that I didn't expect the limit attribute, but it directly doubled 5 times. It doesn't seem right. I remember reading it in the book. Generally speaking, the strength of second-order talents is about twice as strong as that of first-order talents. But from the perspective of the limit attribute, if the second-order talent reaches the limit, it should be 5 times stronger. And many more. As if thinking of something, Chen Ang suddenly touched his chin and pondered. After a while, Chen Ang's eyes lit up. So that's the case. Is this the benefit of evolving talent after reaching the limit attribute? He probably guessed it. If you don't reach the limit attribute, you can evolve your talent. Tier 2 talents are twice as powerful as Tier 1 talents. But if a first-order talent reaches the limit attribute, and then promotes the talent, when he reaches the second order, the original limit attribute will be pulled to a higher level. It is equivalent to saying that the higher the attribute is pulled in the first order, the greater the limit potential will be after the promotion to the second order. I'm afraid this kind of news is only in the hands of the rich children, right? Chen Ang thought to himself. If it wasn't for the gold finger, I'm afraid it would have started to evolve long ago. This is really a wrong step by step. If it is at the beginning, it will reduce the potential. I am afraid that in the future, he will never be able to keep up with the footsteps of other evildoers. Call. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang's eyes flickered, and he immediately waved the arm of the dead dragon, and the roaring sound of breaking through the air sounded. A claw waved, as if the air was being torn apart, and a harsh sound erupted. A claw swiped at the wall. The terrifying power actually ripped apart a huge hole in the middle of the wall, as if the entire wall was divided in two. Continue to practice first. In my body, there is still blood essence energy that has not been completely refined. After refining it, my strength will be stronger. It's not too late to leave when the time comes. And refining, it doesn't take too long. Just keep using up your energy. Tear claws, motivation skills, power burst. This time, it was far more terrifying than every previous tearing claw cast. The powerful power actually made this underground space tremble. As if to collapse. Chen Ang was also practicing fighting techniques while refining the blood essence energy remaining in his body. Not a skill, but a combat routine. You can learn moves from it, and through your own fighting style, you can continuously improve it and make it the most suitable move for you. As a fighting technique, the routines and moves taught in it, not to mention, are all killing moves. Every move is to kill the enemy. There are even acupuncture points. Which acupuncture points can be attacked, which can kill you in one hit, etc. Learning to fight is not difficult for Chen Ang. Chen Ang has already learned when his physical strength is exhausted and his blood essence energy is refined. The difficulty is just how to integrate it and use it for one's own use. But it takes time. Chen Ang is not in a hurry. Lying on the ground, Chen Ang was breathing heavily and resting because his body was exhausted, covered in sweat. Next, it's almost time to leave. By the way, there is also an evolutionary route, I don't know what it is. Chen Ang patted his head and remembered this. Dead dragon arm can continue to evolve. With a move in his heart, he checked it with gold finger. The next moment, a prompt appeared. Dead dragon arm. Evolutionary roots. 3. Dead dragon arm evolution talent. Evolutionary roots. 3. 1. Dead dragon soldier. Required materials. A drop of death blood, 3 grams of rust from ancient spear weapons, 7 grams of bone dust, soul dust of undead creatures x1. 2nd. Magic dragon soldier, materials needed. 3. Dragon hunters, materials needed. P.S. Because I feel that the Yulong people are not good, change the name. Hey, there are actually 3 evolutionary routes. Chen Ang looked surprised. Then learn more carefully. No doubt. The dead dragon soldier is a talent that continues to evolve and evolve with the attribute of death, with a tyrannical body and death erosion. And the demon dragon soldier is pure physical extreme. The last dragon hunter surprised Chen Ang. Dragon hunters, plundering the power of dragons for their own use, and then killing dragons, to put it bluntly, is to use the power of dragons to become the nemesis of dragons. The 3 evolutionary routes, purely from the name, are all powerful. However, Chen Ang was the first to rule out the 3rd evolutionary route. Why? Simple. Because the dragon hunter is simply a special attack on dragons. It's lacking in other respects. Therefore, only choosing from the other 2 evolutionary routes is the best. Dead dragon soldier and demon dragon soldier, let's see whose materials come first. Chen Ang thought. He is very interested in these 2 evolutionary routes. And also very good. Hard to decide. It just depends on which material you can find first. Besides, Chen Ang looked at the prompt to activate the feature again, and was quite helpless. The characteristics of the dead dragon arm. To activate it, you need to mix the materials of death and life to make a liquid, and soak it for 3 consecutive days. How to say? Chen Ang should be very excited to know how to activate the feature. But to be honest, he couldn't be more excited. Because there are a lot of materials needed. After all, apart from the characteristics, it is necessary to evolve the materials. And maybe because his talent is too powerful, these materials are still hard to find. After all, death attributes and life attributes are both rare attributes. Materials with this property have always been very rare and extremely expensive in the market. Moreover, I have to acquire a second talent, so I need to find more materials at that time. Gives a headache. Talented people, while being powerful, can easily make money. But at the same time, they also need money more. With a helpless sigh, Chen Ang got up and was about to leave. Just as it came, there is no hindrance. Chen Ang quickly got to the original channel. Straight forward to the starting position. After lifting the top slate, Chen Ang left the ruins. Call. Taking a deep breath of the fresh air in the mountains outside, Chen Ang twisted his neck and felt relieved. The exit to the secret realm is at that location, so let's go there, just to see if we can find some good materials on the road. And the talent stone. Chen Ang touched his chin and his eyes flickered. After the first order talent is promoted to the second order, he can obtain the second talent. How to get it? First, get the talent stone. The talent stone is naturally born between heaven and earth. It may be in the deep sea, it may be deep underground, or it may be located in the flesh and blood of beasts. In short, talent stones can be born anywhere, but the probability of birth is very small. After you have the talent stone, you need to identify the attributes. The attributes of light, darkness, fire, wind, water, earth, thunder, and so on. Because talent actually has attributes. After identifying the attributes, for example, the talent stone of the thunder attribute, you can only consider choosing the talent that obtains the thunder attribute. And search for materials, grind the talent stone into powder, make it into a potion and take it together, you can get the second talent. Different from what happens when you wake up. When awakening, some people fail and some succeed, and that is predetermined. Getting a second talent is different. Basically, there is no chance of failure. In short, after identifying the attributes of the talent stone, no matter what the attributes are, you must continue to search for materials. Skull pain. Shaking his head, Chen Ang looked forward, his heart moved, and prompts appeared in front of him. The gathering place of beasts, you can't find anything other than materials. There is a night creeper here, you can consider picking it. There is nothing in this direction. If you go in this direction, you will encounter enemies who have been chasing you. Ha, enemy. Chen Ang raised his eyebrows, thinking in his eyes. Blood sect, found it so quickly. Or someone else. But it doesn't matter, just go and see. Although I know that there are enemies before. But Chen Ang is not afraid. To be honest, he just wanted to find someone to try his current strength. After all, after refining the blood essence in his body, his strength has grown again. Except for the spiritual attributes, they are all about 104. So how could Chen Ang be afraid? Before that, go get the night vine first. With a murmur, Chen Ang made a decision. Step out. With a bang, Chen Ang flew out like a cannonball, like an afterimage. Wherever it passed, a whistling of wind swept the flowers and plants. But in the blink of an eye, he disappeared in this area. Lush ancient forest. After leaving the mountain, Chen Ang came to this area. Just stepped into the forest. Roar. A roar sounded from the right side, followed by a sturdy black panther, with sharp fangs, opened its bloody mouth and attacked, black light surging on the fangs, extremely sharp. Good come. Chen Ang grinned and responded quickly. The moment the black panther roared, Chen Ang turned his head and looked directly at him. At the moment when the black panther attacked, his right hand turned into a dragon arm and punched out. Pure power bursts, no skills are used. But it was this punch that showed terrifying power. Boom. A muffled sound. The black panther's head exploded. Red and white things sputtered on the spot. The first order dead-toothed leopard is a little weak. Chen Ang murmured, squatted down and stroked the panther's abdomen. A shiny bone appeared before him. Necrobone, not bad. The bone material of the death system made Chen Ang's eyes shine. The price of this thing is actually not high, because it is more common to be born in the body of a death-type beast. But it's $1,000 anyway. After earning the space ring, Chang'e moved on. Not long after, it was the destination. On the edge of a sturdy old tree, there is a black creeper plant. This is a dead plant again. I have to say that Chang'e seems to have a relationship with death and often encounters death-related materials. Although this is fate, it is easy to think of unknown. Walking to the creeper, Chang'e was ready to pick it up. Suddenly, a gloomy wind blows. Chang'e stood up suddenly and took 2 steps back. The illusory figure emerged from the creeping tiger, and it came with a scream, which was extremely harsh. However, Chang'e's expression didn't change, he just looked at the coming figure, the corners of his mouth twitched with surprise. A female ghost, this is the first time I've seen it. Ghosts still exist in this world. It's just that it's usually in an area with plenty of yin. In fact, there are also people in human cities, but they are rare, and they are all ghosts. Only resentful ghosts are threatening and visible. This is the first time Chang'e has seen a ghost. Still a ghost. It's just that the face is hideous, the flesh and blood are rotting, and black blood is dripping, so it doesn't look good. In terms of appearance alone, Chang'e thinks that Sadako is not much prettier than this thing. Die! The resentful ghost screamed, and the yin qi swept over. Chang'e smiled lightly, turned his head slightly, and avoided it easily. Immediately after a claw wave, the breath of death permeates. What? The scream suddenly came from the mouth of the resentful ghost, and with one blow, it disappeared. Ghosts, in this world, are actually not that scary. For talented people, unless there is really no corresponding means, it can be easily solved. Of course, it is also fortunate that Chang'e's talent has evolved. Today's attacks are accompanied by the power of death and corrosion, otherwise it will not be able to solve this grudge. It was only after the female grudge was resolved that Chang'e's eyes suddenly lit up, and he squatted down to pick up a black crystal about the size of a 2-carat diamond at the place where the grudge died. Soul dust, or undead, tisk tisk, my luck seems to be too good, right? Chang'e was delighted. Soul dust is a material that can be obtained by killing a creature's soul. And different creatures have different attributes even if they have soul dust after death. Resentful ghosts belong to the undead, and soul dust is naturally undead. This thing is relatively rare, it depends on luck. But Chang'e didn't expect to get it so easily. Very good, the evolution material of the dead dragon soldier +1. Excited to put the soul dust into the space ring, Chang'e picked the night creeper. Feeling the cold touch and the rich yin, Chang'e's eyes suddenly looked at him. No wonder. This thing is also the material of the undead system. It is a good place for the ghost to stay, and it can also absorb its power and strengthen the soul. Dropping soul dust is also normal. After putting this material into the space ring, Chang'e got up and prepared to leave. Run all the way down. Chang'e is getting closer and closer to the exit of the secret realm. Just not long after, a figure appeared in Chang'e's field of vision. Congratulations, your enemy is here, but don't worry, he is not your opponent. A prompt appears in front of you. Chang'e stopped, raised his eyebrows slightly, and looked at the figure in surprise. After looking at it carefully, it was confirmed that he did not know him. However, when this figure saw Chang'e, he couldn't help but froze in place, and then he had an ecstatic look and came out laughing. Finally found you. Ha 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 ha, die for me, kid. Killing intent pervades. Make no secret, his voice fell. It broke out with a terrifying speed, like an afterimage. Speed talent, Chang'e saw it, but more curious. Second order breath, I don't know if there are other talents. Yes, the enemy in front of him is the breath of the second order talent. A cracking sound rang out. Almost in the blink of an eye, Scarface had already rushed in front of Chang'e. At some point in his right hand, there was 100 lien dao, with a gust of wind, and the attack speed was extremely fast. Sure enough, there is a second talent, is it attached to the wind? Chang'e's eyes flickered. Attached to the wind, similar to the talent attached to the mine. Although the man's attack speed is very fast, it is almost too fast to make people react. But Chang'e was better in the end, and suddenly raised his right arm to run in front of him. The 100 lien dao slashed on the arm covered with dragon scales, sputtering sparks directly, and leaving a white mark. Such a scene made Scar's face change greatly, and a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. How is this possible? Although he is not strong enough, it is all about speed. But anyway, he is also a second-order talent. And with the bonus brought by the speed, the power of a full blow is not bad. Not to mention that his 100 refinement knife has a certain cutting function under the blessing of the attached wind. With such a blow, it didn't even break the defense. No, are you second order? At this time, he felt the breath of Chen Ang's body, and there was even more horror in his eyes. Chen Ang shook his head, not in a hurry to attack, but asked plainly. Can you tell me, who sent you here? Xie Kangning. The blood cult should not come so soon. Unless they have power in the city. Heard. Scar's face darkened slightly, and then he grinned into a cruel smile. Didn't you guess? But what if you guessed it? You can only die here today. He was already vigilant. After all, he knows Chen Ang's talent. That's Dragon Claw. I didn't expect it to really evolve. The first order Dragon Claw is strong enough. Evolving into a second order, don't think he knows, it will definitely be more terrifying. But it only made him vigilant, not enough to make him afraid. The dragon scales only cover the shoulders. The covered area is very defensive, but as long as it hits other areas, it can kill him. Scarface secretly said in his heart, with a sharp look in his eyes. The next moment, step out. There is wind. His figure disappeared with the breeze. In this regard, Chen Ang didn't panic, just narrowed his eyes and his voice was cold. It's fast, but sometimes fast isn't everything. And, Chen Ang turned his head sharply, his dragon claws clenched tightly, and under his cold eyes, he punched out. Who gave you the confidence to make you think you could kill me? I don't know. When I came behind Chen Ang, and the face of the scar that had already slashed at Chen Ang's neck changed instantly. I just felt a depressing breath coming. Bai Lian Dao fell and bombarded with the dragon fist. Above the blade, there is strong wind compression and condensation, as if the wind blade is attached. Ordinary things can be easily torn apart under this knife. But at this moment, facing Chen Ang's dragon scales, not only could it be inseparable, but under the terrifying power of this punch, it was forcibly annihilated. And Chen Ang didn't hold back at all, and burst out with power again. A click. The 100 refining knives also shattered. This kind of power, this is impossible. There was panic in Scarface's heart, and he roared. Not only was Chen Ang found his offensive position. And this power, he felt it. It is almost more terrifying than the vast majority of second-order talents that I have encountered, and far more than myself. How can that be? How can that be possible? This guy is obviously a talented person who has just awakened. Even if the talent has evolved, so what? How could he possess such terrifying power in such a short period of time? His knives are not ordinary knives. Nothing is impossible. Die. Chen Ang sneered, a claw tore out. As if death had come, Scar's face felt suffocated in the face of Chen Ang's grab. But at the same time, he couldn't help roaring. You don't want to kill me. He realized that he was no match for Chen Ang at all. But what if you want to kill yourself? He just wanted to laugh at Chen Ang's ignorance. In an instant, he burst into a terrifying speed. He easily dodged Chen Ang's attack without saying a word, and then turned around abruptly to escape into the distance. Want to run? Impossible. Chen Ang's eyes became cold. A move in my heart. Explosive power manifested. Bend your legs, then explode. Chen Ang is like a bullet fired from the muzzle, and the speed of the explosion at this moment is faster than that of Scarface. In just one breath, he caught up with Scar's face and tore it out with one claw. The breath of death permeates. A black light flashed across the air. Quick attack. Scarface could only turn around and watch Chen Ang's attack fall on his back, but he didn't have the time to react at all. What? Accompanied by the shrill screams, a bloody wound emerged from his back, the flesh and blood were torn off, and the spine inside could be clearly seen, which was extremely hideous. Bang! Scarface fell directly to the ground, his face pale, and he groaned in pain. The whole person curled up. Pain is visible. Chen Ang sneered and walked step by step. His expression was indifferent, but there was murder in his eyes. It was also because of this killing intent that even though Scarface was in pain, he had to endure the pain, gritted his teeth and begged. No, don't kill me. Chen Ang sneered. Give me a reason not to kill you. Heard. He turned paler. Reason? What reason can he have? You can't say you don't want to die, can you? Wrong. And many more. Suddenly, Scarface seemed to think of something and hurriedly said, I have a secret that should be useful to you. As long as you don't kill me, I can tell you. Secret. Chen Ang raised his eyebrows, which was originally a casual sentence. He didn't expect the scarred face in front of him to tell him anything, but now it seems that there are really unexpected gains. What secret? Chen Ang asked directly. Because of the severe pain from the back, Scarface grinned and replied quickly. The secret about the Xie family. Xie Kangning wants to kill you, you won't let him go, right? But once you dare to take action against Xie Kangning, his father will not let you go. You will surely die by then. But if there was this secret, it would be different. Hearing this, Chen Ang couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. According to you, this secret seems to be really important. When, of course, Chen Ang was silent for a while, touching his chin in thought. After a while, Chen Ang stared at Scar's face and said solemnly, Okay, if this secret is really as important as you said, I can promise to let you go. Scarface did not believe it so easily, but said, You let me leave first, I have a video on my phone, and I will throw it to you after I leave a certain distance, how about it? Ah, Chen Ang shook his head and laughed, but he didn't care, said, Can. Seeing this, Scarface was relieved, endured the severe pain and slowly got up, stared at Chen Ang with a pale face, and slowly stepped back. At the same time, a mobile phone appeared in his hand. In order to prevent Chen Ang from not believing it, he also found a video and clicked it to make Chen Ang believe that he really has a secret. In this regard, Chen Ang's expression did not change, he just put his hands on his shoulders and watched the scarred face leave. When Scarface kept retreating, it was about 30 steps away. A whistle. Scarface threw the mobile phone in his hand at Chen Ang, and then turned around and ran wildly. Just looking at the distant back, a playful look flashed in Chen Ang's eyes. In the event of a serious injury, how far can you run and how far can you run? The sound fell. With a swoosh, Chen Ang disappeared. When it reappeared, he had already caught the phone, and at the same time the dragon arm of his right hand emerged, smashing directly to the ground with a punch, smashing the stones under his feet. Grabbing a stalactite-like oblong stone and holding it above his head, Chen Ang posed for a projection. He stared at Scar's face, who was still staggering away, and grinned with a sneer. Die. A cold word came out of his mouth. The next moment, Chen Ang threw it suddenly. Hutchie. The sound of breaking the air exploded. Under Chen Ang's terrifying power, the stone pillars were like bullets shot from the muzzle and shot straight away. At the same time, Scarface, who was enduring severe pain with perseverance, clenched his teeth and fled frantically into the distance. But at this moment, he seemed to have noticed something, and looked back suddenly. And when he saw what was behind him, his scalp felt numb, and a sense of suffocation of death came over him. Before he could do anything, there was a loud bang. The stone pillar hit the forehead. Scarface's head shattered instantly. Chen Ang looked indifferent. After throwing the stone pillar, he didn't even pay attention to the direction of Scar's face. He just took the mobile phone and clicked on the video to watch it. In the video, it appears to be in a dimly lit room. A middle-aged man sat behind a desk with a mobile phone in his hand and said calmly, Not enough, what you have given is not enough for what I thanked my family for. Ho ho ho, I don't know what the Xie family wants. You should know what you want. So, is it power? The middle-aged man was silent and did not answer. There was still a voice coming from the phone, and he continued. Ho ho ho, if you want power, we can give it to you, but don't forget your mission. Hearing this, the middle-aged man opened his mouth and said, As long as you don't forget what you have to pay, I won't go wrong here. Hope so. Humph. The middle-aged man snorted coldly and hung up the phone. Immediately afterwards, his expression became gloomy, and he was thinking about something, and gritted his teeth in his mouth. Wangsing Tower. The video ends here. Chen Ang frowned slightly, thinking. The middle-aged man should be Xie Kangning's father. Although it is only a side face, it can be seen that it is somewhat similar to Xie Kangning. It was the conversation that made Chen Ang curious. Wangsing Pagoda, could it be a certain force organization? What are they trying to do? To be frank, I can't see anything else in this video. I only know that Xie Kangning's father seems to have made a deal with a force called Wangsingta. But that's it. Others don't know. Forget it, don't know if you don't know. Chen Ang shook his head and put away his phone. Although I want to kill Xie Kangning, it doesn't mean that I have to do it myself. After all, what if the blood sect killed him? It's not impossible. You must know that the projection of the old man who appeared in the underground palace before is full of murderous intentions for him. Maybe he will come to the door in person. So Chen Ang plans to wait a few more days. When Xie Kangning is not dead, he will kill him himself. Chen Ang is never soft to the enemy. Shaking his head, Chen Ang walked towards the scar-faced corpse. The beautiful tradition of touching corpses cannot be lost. A quarter of an hour later. Secret exit. Chen Ang stepped into it. A sense of dizziness struck. When Chen Ang opened his eyes again, he couldn't help taking a deep breath, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Came back. Not in a hurry to go home, Chen Ang chose to go to the appraisal hall first. Now, he is very curious about the attributes of the talent stone in his hand. Chapter 31. In addition to identifying the attributes of talent stones in the Hall of Appraisal, various materials are also identified. Some materials are more special. Take some talents as an example. Even part of some weapons is needed in the materials for making potions. For example, a part of a weapon to kill over 10,000 enemies. Or the fangs of beasts that devour all spirits. And many more. These materials must be identified to confirm the authenticity. As for why the identification hall can identify these things, the reason is also simple, because the members in it are all talented people with identification talents. Next to the appraisal hall, there is a resource store. When Chen Ang came here, he thought about it, first stepped into the resource store, and sold all his income in the secret realm except what he needed. It also includes material obtained from touching the corpse from Scarface. When Chen Ang came out, he already had a huge sum of nearly 70,000 yuan in his arms. Certainly, there are also deposits from Chen Ang itself. Yes, I can have a good meal today. With a smile on his face, Chen Ang stepped into the appraisal hall again. There are a lot of people here, but not too many. Some people were waiting with materials. There are 2 windows inside. One is the identification material. One is to identify the talent stone. There was no one here at the talent stone, so Chen Ang didn't have to line up. After paying the fee, the identification can begin. But it's also expensive. Then, it costs 10,000 yuan for one appraisal. It's really good money. Chen Ang pouted. But there is no way. Who makes such talent less rare is precious. Sir, please come with me. The waiter arrived, and after saying a word, he immediately led the way. When brought to a box, after a cup of tea. Not long after, a middle-aged woman walked in, nodded slightly towards Chen Ang, and smiled. Hello sir, I am the appraiser this time, please take out your talent stone. It is good. Chen Ang nodded, took out the talent stone and handed it over. After the woman took it, she took a closer look, and it was her talent that was stimulated. In other words, activate the original attributes of this talent stone. From Chen Ang's point of view, he could feel a force poured into the talent stone. Immediately afterwards, a dazzling luster suddenly flashed on the originally unsophisticated talent stone, and a dull color appeared. Off-white. The female appraiser quickly finished the appraisal and handed the talent stone to Chen Ang. Sir, your talent stone has been identified, and it is of the super energy system. Is it super power? I see, thank you. Chen Ang nodded. Wind, fire, water, and earth belong to the element system. Strength, speed, and fury belong to the ordinary system. Dragon claws and stone arms belong to the transformation system. And this kind of power belongs to the super energy system. To put it bluntly, the superpower talent in this world is similar to the superhuman devil fruit in the world of One Piece. After taking the talent stone, Chen Ang got up and left after a flash of thought flashed in his eyes. My heart is still whispering. The talent of the superpower department, what is suitable for me? Or do you want to find a new way to get a talent stone? In fact, for his second talent, Chen Ang was originally inclined to the talent of strength or speed. Don't look ordinary, but the potential is not small. And it is very suitable to match his first talent, the most important thing is that the evolution materials are easy to find. But after thinking about it carefully, Chen Ang shook his head again. Talent stones are not so easy to get. It was pure luck to get it this time. Even if it is available in the market, I cannot afford it now. Forget it, the super energy department is the super energy department. Super energy department, I remember that there are a lot of talents that are good. Would you like to vibrate? Or mind power? Thinking room. Chen Ang walked out of the appraisal hall. Suddenly. As if remembering something, Chen Ang took out the talent stone and put it in front of him, and his heart moved immediately. A piece of advice appeared in front of me. This is an activated super energy system talent stone. Well, I know what you want to see, so I listed it for you. Can make talent potion. Mind power, adaptability, 30. Can make talent potion. Rotation, adaptability, 31. Can make talent potion. Deterrence, adaptability, 78. Can make talent potion. Body of recovery, adaptability, 100. Can make talent potion. Really? Seeing the prompt in front of him, Chen Ang was shocked. Ecstasy. Originally, he was thinking about whether he could use his gold finger to see which talents of the superpower system are most suitable for him at present. Just a try, the result is really good. So how could Chen Ang not be excited? However, there are many talents in the superpower department. Chen Ang glanced down. I saw a lot of talent that suits me. And even if there are 100 adaptability, there are many. In the end, Chen Ang set his sights on the recovery body talent. The body of recovery, if I remember correctly, this talent has the ability to slowly recover as long as it is injured. Sounds good, but recovery isn't that fast. And one of the evolutionary roots is the body of an iron wall. While making the body stiff as iron, it also has the ability to recover slowly. Why is my adaptability so high in Goldfinger's prompt? Chen Ang was a little puzzled. But then he shook his head. Go back first. Although there is only one evolutionary route known so far, maybe there are many evolutionary routes that may not be discovered. Just when he was about to leave, he seemed to be aware of it. Chen Ang glanced away from the corner of his eyes, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. But then everything disappeared, as if nothing had happened, and continued to walk in the direction of going home. And far away, in an alley, a figure held a mobile phone and said tremblingly, Master Xie, really, how could I deceive you? I really saw that guy, he just came out of the appraisal hall. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's hurt. Now, looking at it now, it seems to be going back. Okay, I get it. The jerk hangs up, looking at the phone, and at the direction Chen Ang left, he looked helpless and cursed inwardly. What rubbish, Master Xie, he also said that this guy will definitely die, and he's not still alive now. Forget it, I can't solve it anyway, so I'll go to other people. Out of city area, in a yellow sand plain. The two figures gathered together, clad in blood-colored robes. One male and one female. Men are feminine, women are beautiful. It's just that at this time, the woman was biting a straw in her mouth, and under the straw was the head of a beast. Taking a deep breath, the woman's face showed intoxication. In this regard, the feminine man's expression did not change, but he spoke slowly. The priest has instructed us to go to Diwan City and deal with a guy named Xie Kangning. Okay, arrive home. After taking a shower, Chen Ang went back to his room and turned on his phone. Once opened, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The sound is constant. All are pieces of information. Chen Ang, when are you coming back? You won't die in the secret realm, will you? Come back early. Dad asked me to tell you an important news. Don't be in a hurry to evolve, Dad said. It's better to feel that your body has reached the limit before evolving, otherwise you will regret it later. Chen Ang, once you wake up successfully, you will be a gifted person. No matter if you can evolve or not, you will know it after you try it. Explore the characteristics and find materials. Even if you fail, you will not regret it, you know. In addition, you have to work hard. During this time, go to the novice secret realm to hone your combat skills. Even if you can't evolve now, if you get good grades after the college entrance examination, you can enter a good university and worship a good teacher. Maybe you can get help from evolution. Come on. You have a new friend request. The first paragraph is from Li Leiyao. The second paragraph is from the head teacher. The third paragraph is Xiao Yiqing's friend request. Li Leiyao's family background is not simple, and he really knows the benefits of extreme evolution. But now you tell me this kind of news, why? Invest. After Chen Ang touched his chin and pondered, there was a sense of surprise. As for the message sent by the teacher, Chen Ang can also understand. Probably because I saw that I hadn't shown up since I left school, so encourage me. It is not an investment, after all, investment is also paid. After agreeing to Xiao Yiqing's friend request, Chen Ang replied one by one. I already know that. Good teacher, I know. After doing this, Chen Ang searched the internet for the information of Xie family in Diwan City. After a while, Chen Ang closed the page in front of him with a thoughtful look on his face. The Xie family, the wealthy merchant family, does not belong to the gifted family. But because of the money, a lot of worshippers were recruited. Although they are all second-order talents, there are a lot of them. And the head of the Xie family, that is, Xie Kengning's father, Xie Anbong, is a third-order talent. He is very powerful. The strength of the Xie family is definitely not that strong. But it is relative. For Chen Ang, who was an orphan without any background, and who had just awakened, he was a big enemy. Fortunately, my strength is not weak. If the blood sect doesn't get rid of Xie Kangning, I'll take action to get rid of him. But I have to find a good time, preferably during the time when I go to the university after the college entrance examination. As long as I enter the university, there is nothing the Xie family can do if they want to kill me. People who want to kill themselves. How could Chen Ang let go? Solve it as soon as possible, vent your anger as soon as possible. As for the Xie family, the strongest is tier 3, give yourself time to catch up quickly. Ding dong, there is news. Chen Ang opened the chat software and it was Xiao Yiqing. Chen Ang, you are finally back. What's matter? Of course, have you forgotten our agreement? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Sure enough, you really forgot, scumbag. Chen Ang's face darkened. Women, speak with conscience. When did I piss you off? Anyway, you let me scum too. Ba ba ba. Chen Ang typed immediately. Are you talking about god horse stuff? Hey, before they left the secret realm, they told you to invite you to dinner, but after a few days, you forgot about them, heartbroken. Quote. Chen Ang's mouth twitched slightly. After thinking about it carefully, well, he remembered it. There seems to be such a thing. It was said when Xiao Yiqing was about to leave after playing with her contact information, but Chen Ang didn't care at that time, so she forgot about it. But it's a free meal, if you don't eat it, you can type it immediately. Location, time. Tomorrow night, how about Zhexianju? Can. After sending the message, Chen Ang turned off the chat software and continued to search on the internet. This time, the search is about the body of recovery. Chen Ang found a lot of relevant information. The body of recovery, is it really that weak? Close double angle bracket. The freshmen of the Po Military Academy, let you see the real horror of the recovered body. Close double angle bracket. Shock. The body of recovery actually has such an effect. Close double angle bracket. And so on. You can also see some speculation about whether there are other evolutionary routes for the restored body. Chen Ang passed them one by one. I found a video dedicated to the introduction of the ability to restore the body, and then I clicked it and watched it. The owner of the video is the recovered body talent. From the very beginning, it was performed directly for the audience. Holding a small knife, he opened a slit at his wrist, and blood flowed out. But soon, the wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. There is no doubt that this is the power of the restored body. However, the owner of the video said at this time, everyone in the audience may think that the body of recovery is very powerful when they see this scene, right? But in fact it is not. The body of recovery is not strong in the first stage. Only minor injuries can recover so quickly, and serious injuries will still take time. It can be said that the body of recovery has not evolved well, and its combat power is very weak. But after evolution, it will be strong. Chen Ang's eyes flickered, staring at the talented person with a recovered body in the video, his heart moved. Suddenly, information about this person surfaced in front of him. A talent with the talent of recovery body. The body of recovery. Evolutionary route. 2. 1. The body of the iron wall. 2. The body of absorption. Sure enough, there is a second evolutionary route. Chen Ang's eyes lit up with anticipation, and he got to know more deeply. Among the two routes of the body of recovery, the body of the iron wall is obviously a defensive route. The defense is extremely strong, and its body is like steel, just like the iron block of one of the 6 types of the Navy in One Piece. The absorption body has a special effect, absorbing damage and transforming it into its own power to bombard it. The more damage absorbed, the stronger the cumulative blow. No wonder. Chen Ang's eyes showed a sudden look. I can understand why this body of recovery is suitable for me. The reason: your defense is strong enough. Not to mention, in the area covered with dragon scales, the previous Balian Dao with the scarred face left only a white mark. From the evolution of dragon claws to dead dragon arms. After another evolution, perhaps the dragon scales will cover the entire body. At that time, the defensive power can be imagined how terrifying. Combined with the absorbing body. Then one sentence can describe it. I can withstand your attacks again and again, and you, not once. The most important is, the materials for this thing, the recovered body talent, are easy to find. Required to obtain a second talent. As long as the talent stone is the core, plus the corresponding talent materials. This material is actually the same as follow-up. You need to explore and find for yourself. At present, many people acquire second talents by choosing those talents that have been explored. But Chen Ang never worried about this, so naturally he wouldn't care about it. Recovery body, save it for consideration. Although very moved, Chen Ang did not immediately agree. If there is a chance to get other talent stones, then make a decision. If not, just choose the body of recovery. Shaking his head, Chen Ang clicked on the takeout platform. Not ready to cook dinner by myself. After all, if you want to eat a good meal, it is natural to order takeout. There are takeaways in this era, but for talented people, those businesses don't dare to cheat, so ordering takeout is the same as eating in the store. It took a while to finish, and it cost 5,000 yuan. Expensive. But this is also the talent that has such a big appetite. Ordinary people naturally can't eat so much. Before the takeaway came, Chen Ang searched on some credible online trading platforms to see if there was any material he needed. Currently, the rip claws continue to rise, requiring materials. The evolution of its own talent requires materials. Although the second talent has not yet been decided, some materials must be prepared in advance for the restored body. New features are activated, and more materials are required. A lot of materials are needed. Death Skull, this thing is good, I need it, but it's expensive, just 20,000 yuan per gram. Life Dust, 25,000 yuan. These things are very expensive, and the quantity is still small. Just expensive. But Chen Ang still had to place an order to buy it. Hey, there is actually a ghost wood veneer, a death-type material, which is not bad, but it is also very expensive, 15,000. The price of these materials, Chen Ang's scalp is tingling. Fortunately, Chen Ang only knew the 3 materials he needed. And just these 3 materials hollowed out Chen Ang. There are only a few $1,000s left in the pocket. In the distance to activate the feature, you still need 3 materials. Do you have to find a way to trade the evolutionary direction? Chen Ang muttered, then shook his head. Forget it, let's take a look at the situation in the next 2 days. After speaking, Chen Ang got up. Practice fighting skills, speed up the progress and integrate. When the takeaway arrived, after Chen Ang had eaten and drank, the night was getting darker. After taking a shower, Chen Ang simply rested. The next day, a new day has come. On this day, Chen Ang stayed at home and didn't go anywhere. I have been practicing fighting techniques. It was not until night fell that Chen Ang washed up, changed his clothes and walked out the door. Along the way, Chen Ang went straight to Zhexianju. After arriving, Chen Ang found that there was still an endless stream of guests at the door. Hello sir, do you have an appointment? Stepping into Zhexianju, the woman in Cheongsam stepped forward and asked in a soothing voice. Chen Ang looked around, saw Xiao Yiqing, stopped at the waiter, and walked over. I have to say that Xiao Yiqing dressed up beautifully today. Previously, Chen Ang was far away and the direction was not good, so I didn't pay much attention. When I walked in, I found that Xiao Yiqing had long black hair reaching her waist. Today, she was wearing a pair of white high-heeled sandals, revealing her delicate and pink toes. With fair skin, a delicate face, and the light blue dress she was wearing today, it was quite a pure temperament. Why did you come so early? Chen Ang stepped forward, sat opposite Xiao Yiqing and asked. Hearing the voice, Xiao Yiqing, who seemed to be in a daze before, came back to her senses. Looking at Chen Ang in front of her, she couldn't help but ruffled her hair and complained. You're kind enough to ask girls to wait for you, but you're not a gentleman at all. I'm not a gentleman either. Chen Ang smiled slightly. Gentleman or something, he's not interested. He came only for a big meal today. Such an answer drew Xiao Yiqing's eyes. But it seems that he understood Chen Ang's character. Xiao Yiqing didn't bother about it, took out the menu and started ordering, and asked Chen Ang's opinion by the way. During this time, Chen Ang asked, by the way, why are there so many people in Zhexianju today? I don't know. Xiao Yiqing shook his head and said, it seems that some big man is coming, I don't know who it is. Big man. Chen Ang touched his chin and thought to himself. Could it be the city lord? Slightly wrong. If the city lord, there shouldn't be so many people coming. He could see very clearly that although many of these guests were wealthy, there were also many who could only say that they were barely in touch with the upper class. Some even have children. After thinking about it for a long time, Chen Ang couldn't think of it, so he simply didn't want to. Just at this time, Xiao Yiqing had finished ordering, put down the menu and asked Chen Ang curiously. I don't know which university you plan to bake yet. How do I know that? Chen Ang spread his hands. And how do you feel like you have confidence in me? University or something, not where I want to go. HMPH, others may not know, I still don't know. Xiao Yiqing arched Chong's nose and said, your strength is so strong, there must be no problem in passing the college entrance examination. And in the secret realm before, you said that you had enemies, and it was still second order, but since you have walked out of the secret realm safely, there are only two possibilities. Either kill the enemy, either I didn't need it, and I came out ahead of time. I prefer the former. A hint of surprise flashed in Chen Ang's eyes looking at Xiao Yiqing. How do you know? Guess, hee, it looks like I guessed right. Xiao Yiqing showed a proud smile. Chen Ang rolled his eyes. Xiao Yiqing then asked curiously. However, how did you kill the second-order talent? First like this, then like that, kill me. Huh, is it okay to speak human words? Chen Ang said helplessly. People say that my strength is stronger, so I killed it. You. Xiao Yiqing's eyes widened. She didn't believe Chen Ang's words. After all, they are all first-order talents. If they want to kill second order, how can it be so easy to say? But what if it's not first order? She thought of a guess and couldn't help being shocked. You won't be promoted to the second rank, will you? Chen Ang smiled lightly. Who knows? Such a gesture. Let Xiao Yiqing affirm, absolutely. But, Chen Ang's talent is Dragon Claw. Does this mean that? Hiss. Exactly at this time. Restaurant door. Several figures walked in. All of a sudden, many eyes looked at it. These figures are relatively young. 20 or 30. When he came in, he was still talking. If there are good seedlings this time, your Wuku Academy must let us a little. That is, in recent years, most of the good seedlings have gone to your Wuku Academy. You must give us a drink, right? Hey, you can't say that. If people want to come, I can't stop them, right? What you said, why do you want to beat you so much? What? Suddenly, a middle-aged man glanced at Chen Ang casually, and couldn't help but let out a sound of surprise, and a bit of surprise flashed from the bottom of his eyes. Interesting. There are still geniuses in such a small place. The middle-aged man's eyes flickered. But he immediately went into hiding and continued to talk with others around him, sometimes laughing, sometimes listening, as if nothing had happened. Chen Ang didn't notice this. After the plates of delicious food were served, Chen Ang had already started to eat. However, Xiao Yiqing occasionally looked to the other side, as if thinking about something, and then said in surprise. Ah, I see. At first glance, Chen Ang couldn't help but be stunned and asked. What do you know? I know who those people are. Who is it? Admission teacher. Xiao Yiqing said. Before each college entrance examination, major colleges will send admissions teachers to various cities to observe, looking for students with sufficient potential for special recruitment. It will be the same in previous years, but this year seems to come earlier. Hearing this, Chen Ang was suddenly stunned. So that's the case, so those who agree are parents. Should be. What are they doing here? Still thinking of letting others give them the special recruitment quota. Chen Ang was surprised. It's impossible to think about it, right? Who knows that? Xiao Yiqing shook his head. Chen Ang just glanced at it and stopped paying attention. A few big men are far less beautiful than the food in front of them. After a full meal, the two left Zhexianju. Night fell. Occasionally catch a glimpse of the evening star in the sky. Okay, I'm going back, see you another day. After pressing down on the road for a while with Chen Ang like a lover, Xiao Yiqing waved his hand. Chen Ang nodded. Goodbye. Xiao Yiqing put her smiling hands behind her back and turned to leave. Jumping and jumping, I don't know why, but it seems to be in a good mood. Chen Ang shook his head and turned to go home. The evening breeze brushed against the cheeks, making people feel comfortable. There are still pedestrians on the road, but it is not as prosperous as the city night before the crossing. Chen Ang suddenly frowned and sniffed his nose. A bloody smell poured into the nostrils. Chen Ang suddenly lifted his spirits, his heart moved, and his eyes swept in all directions around him. A small forest, you can probably hear a continuous pleasant sound when you walk in. Snack Street, if you are not full, you can try it, although the taste may not be very good. Have you seen the couple walking together? In fact, both of them gave each other a green hat. With your strong body and handsome face, you might even be seen by the woman if you walked over. A dark alley where a tragedy is taking place. The last reminder lifted Chen Ang's spirits, but then he scolded secretly, more specific. Then, the prompt changed. The evil extraterritorial mage, who just killed a first-order talent, has not left yet, friendly reminder, they have good things on them. Mage, a look of surprise flashed in Chen Ang's eyes. Then his expression darkened. Forget the mage. It turned out to be an extraterritorial mage. This shows that the other party is not a person in this world. It was the existence of other worlds that invaded here. Call the police, Chen Ang thought. After thinking about it, Chen Ang still didn't take out his mobile phone, but walked straight in the direction of the alley. The footsteps were light, barely making a sound. And as he got closer, Chen Ang could hear a faint sound coming from the alley. I have to say that humans in this world are really difficult to solve. All kinds of talents are really amazing. Be careful, quickly contain the soul and leave, if we are found, we will all die. I also want to hurry, doesn't it take time? And why did you say that Lord Truth sent us first and second order mages here? It feels like sending death, and you have to be careful at all times. Idiot, if it weren't for you and me being weak, do you think we could enter here? As long as we are stronger, we will definitely be discovered once we enter. The weaker we are, the safer it is. 2. Hurry up, let's go back to study after the soul is contained. It is good. Containment of souls. Research. Chen Ang's eyes flickered, and a trace of coldness flashed past. Soon, Chen Ang went deep into the alley. A corner, just walked past. Two figures appeared in front of Chen Ang's eyes. These two figures are dressed in long robes, with pointed hats, and holding a staff, dressed in the appearance of a very obvious mage. However, on the robes on the two people, there is a stream of light, like the twinkling of stars, looming, very beautiful. Inexplicably, Chen Ang thought of a force mentioned by Xie Kengning's father in the previous video. Wangxing Tower. With a murmur in his heart, Chen Ang pressed it down to the bottom of his heart, and a coldness appeared in his eyes. Who? Perhaps sensing the killing intent on Chen Ang, a mage suddenly turned his head to look behind him, and immediately found Chen Ang. The mage was a little surprised, as if he didn't expect to be discovered. But his movements were not slow, he waved his staff without hesitation, and a crimson formation appeared. Fireball. An orange-red fireball the size of a basketball struck with scalding heat. High speed. But in Chen Ang's eyes, it was a little slow. Turned his head slightly. The fireball grazed Chen Ang's ear. Immediately afterwards, a burst of air sounded. Chen Ang took one step and flew out like a cannonball, and his right arm turned into a dead dragon's arm at some point, and one claw ripped forward. A deadly sense of crisis struck. The mage immediately clenched the staff with both hands, and the magic circle reappeared, turning into a khaki-yellow barrier to cover himself. Tear claws. Hukai. Chen Ang attacked, and a strong blow hit the barrier. The terrifying power erupted, and with a click, cracks appeared on the barrier. How can that be? There was a shocking look in the mage's eyes. Unbelievable. Nothing is impossible. Chen Ang sneered, and the power exploded again. Boom. The barrier shattered. The tearing claw then landed directly on the mage. Bang. The mage was blasted out directly, and a bloody wound appeared on his body, making his face pale and making a painful sound. What? Noel, don't, stop first, deal with this guy, or we'll all have to die here. He shouted in panic. Just finished. A voice came from behind Chen Ang. I don't need you to tell me. Go to hell, you. Is another mage. Chen Ang looked back. I saw a thick wind blade hit. Chen Ang's expression remained unchanged, and his claw was torn apart. Puff. With a tyrannical blow, the wind blade was torn apart. And Chen Ang's movements did not stop, and instead rushed towards the mage who was seriously injured. Seriously kill first. Kill another person. Chen Ang has a decision in his heart. No, do not want. The seriously injured mage who had just climbed up from the ground saw this scene, and immediately panicked, hurriedly waved his staff, and roared in his mouth. Noel, save me. The khaki magic circle radiates light. As the previous khaki barrier enveloped it. He can't save you, and he will go down to accompany you. Chen Ang sneered. The tearing claw erupted again. A claw swung out, and the air exploded continuously. The sharp dragon claws ripped apart the air. Bang. The dragon claws fell on the barrier, and the powerful formidable power, as before, directly tore it apart. Do not. The mage's eyes widened, showing a look of horror. But Chen Ang's attacks didn't stop there. Instead, keep attacking. Puff. Blood splashes. The brutal blow tore the mage into deep wounds from the face to the neck to the chest. If the strength was stronger, it might be directly torn into 3 sections. But even so, this blow caused the already seriously injured mage to collapse with a bang, and he couldn't rest his eyes. Aiden. An angry voice resounded from behind. Chen Ang looked back. Another mage was desperate for his partner's corpse, and immediately waved his staff and roared. Death to me. The snow-white magic circle condensed, and one of the thick ice dragon heads spread out, coming with a roar and cold. Chen Ang raised his eyebrows with a look of surprise in his eyes. But when his eyes swept across the pale mage because of the release of this magic, it was suddenly in his heart. Big move. No wonder it exudes a strong aura. But that's it. Call. Chen Ang took a deep breath. The luster on the dragon's claws was looming. The ice dragon roared. Chen Ang didn't have any idea of evading, but a look of excitement burst out in his eyes. A whimper. The air exploded. Chen Ang took one step forward and walked away. The dragon claw and the ice dragon meet together. Under the collision of the breath of death and ice, a wave of air formed and erupted. Vaguely, it turned out to be evenly matched. Seeing this scene, the mage's face became even whiter, but he didn't expect that his attack could only be evenly matched. After scolding, he took a deep look at Chen Ang's face, as if to remember, then turned around and ran away quickly. His magic power has been exhausted, and if he stays here, he can only wait for death. Want to run? Impossible. Chen Ang naturally noticed the mage who was about to escape, and a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Roll. Under a roar, the breath of death on the arm of the dead dragon filled the air, and the power erupted again. Click, click. The ice faucet that exudes an icy aura actually began to smash. And next, connected to smash. Break me. Chen Ang let out a low voice. A bang sounded. The bone-piercing ice dragons were all crushed. Chen Ang didn't stop, but stepped out one step, like a cannonball flying out. The terrifying speed is simply not something a mage can match. But within a few breaths, he caught up with the mage. Go to hell. Suddenly, the mage suddenly turned around and waved his staff, a magic circle appeared, and one of the ice cones shot. Roll. Chen Ang said coldly. The dragon claws waved, and the cold light flickered. The ice pick is directly crushed. Chen Ang broke out again, and was already close to the mage. Perhaps aware of the coming of death, the mage showed a look of horror in his eyes, and hurriedly shouted. Don't kill me, Kill me, Wangsing Tower will not let you go. It really is the Wangsing Tower, Chen Ang murmured in his heart. But the next moment, a sneer appeared on his face. It doesn't matter, just come, I provoke a blood sect, and I don't mind provoke another Wangsing Pagoda. Done. Chen Ang waved his paw directly. The mage waved the staff subconsciously, but the magic power in the body had already been used up, so he couldn't cast magic at all, so he could only use the staff as a weapon to resist in front of him. However, in the face of Chen Ang's powerful blow, the staff could not show any effect at the moment. A click. At the moment of contact, the staff broke. Chen Ang's attack did not stop because of this, and then fell on the mage. Rip. Blood splashes. The dragon claws pierced into the mage's chest and ripped violently. Flesh, bone, they were all forcibly torn apart. Without even having a chance to die, the mage fell to the ground with his eyes wide open, turning into a gradually icy corpse. In the dark alley, it suddenly became quiet. Chen Ang took out his mobile phone, made a call and went out. Soon, the phone will be connected. Chen Ang spoke directly. I found a mage from outside the territory in the alley of number 3 Earth Vessel Road, claiming to be from the Wangsing Pagoda. It has been solved by me now. Come over quickly. After speaking, Chen Ang hung up the phone. Then he squatted down and groped on the mage. Not long after, Chen Ang let out a sigh. Sure enough, this dress is not simple. The clothes on these two mages seem to be of special material and extremely tough. Chen Ang gave it a try. Not to mention that it can defend against Chen Ang's blow, but the initial function of avoiding fire and cold is still there. But unfortunately, it is useless to Chen Ang. But that's not what Chen Ang wants per se. This should be the storage tool for mages. From the mage's corpse, he took out a delicate little bag like a sack, and when he touched it with spiritual power, his face couldn't help showing excitement. Really, this thing is indeed a storage tool. It can be said to be a space bag. There seems to be a lot of stuff in there, but mostly books. But aside from books, there are also some materials. This is bone grass and bone flour. These are all death-related materials. Chen Ang's eyes were even more excited. Continue to search again. 2 bottles of potions were also found in the space bag. In order to improve the spiritual power of foreign mages, the potions made of various medicinal materials can increase the spiritual power without side effects. Of course, because you are not a mage, the increase is small, but it is also a treasure. Ha ha ha, there are really good things. Chen Ang couldn't help laughing. He didn't call the police at first. It is because of the good things on these 2 mages. If you call the police, I am afraid that the official will come just after solving the mage. At that time, these things are estimated to be out of their own hands. And this is also a mage's space bag. Don't forget, there is also a mage. Chen Ang left and found a space bag on him. As soon as I got it, footsteps came from the alley. It's coming so fast, Chen Ang murmured, hurriedly put the space bag into his space ring with a wave, and then turned around. Really, a group of people in uniform came up behind him. It is the Yaman. The leader was a slightly dark strong man, who walked in a long and fast pace. After scanning the situation in the alley, he looked at Chen Ang again. Noticing the greenness on Chen Ang's face, he was even more surprised, said. You killed these 2 mages? Yes, Chen Ang nodded. Tisk tisk tisk. Little guy, there is something. The strong man smacked his mouth and said. If you read it correctly, although it is a first-order mage, but there are 2 of them, it is still very troublesome to fight. How do you solve it? Just like this, and then like that, it's settled. Chen Ang gestured. It's just that this gesture and the words he said made the strong man's face darken and he didn't have a good air. Speak English. Oh, Chen Ang pouted and said simply. In a word, I'm stronger, so I won and killed them. Is there something wrong? No problem. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. At least the brawny guy at the head sounded fine. But it always feels weird. Okay, but you have to come with us and make a record. This is a normal routine inquiry. Chen Ang didn't have any objections, he followed the Yaman and left. The body was also taken away. 10 o'clock at night. Chen Ang walked out of the Yaman, followed by the strong man named Li Kui. At this moment, Li Kui was patting Chen Ang's shoulder with admiration. Good boy, you really have the strength, Yes, try to get into a good university, and then go to the crack battlefield to kill the enemy. Ah, yes. Chen Ang nodded with a smile, although he still didn't know what the Rift battlefield was. After saying goodbye to Li Kui, Chen Ang left. Look at Chen Ang's back. Li Kui still couldn't help smacking his lips. After thinking of the specific situation he had just learned from Chen Ang in the yamen, a flash of shock could not help flashing in his eyes. Tisk tisk, Dragon Claw talent is indeed powerful, and this guy has evolved. And that breath, it should be extreme evolution, right? But it always feels a little weird. I don't know if this kid is a power limit evolution or a speed limit evolution. After a few murmurs, Li Kui seemed to have thought of something, grinned, and took out his mobile phone to dial. Soon, the phone will be connected. Li Kui said immediately. Ha ha ha, Lao Sha, this time you came to Diwan City, right? Hey, don't do anything, don't worry, when the son of labor and management has not yet reached the college entrance examination, he doesn't need to ask you. You said your uncle, I'm here to send you good news, a guy who can definitely be regarded as a top potential, how about it? Do you want it? Ha ha ha, remember what you said, you owe me a favor. I'll send you the information later. Don't worry, it's definitely worth it. If it's not worth it, just take what I said as fart, okay? Hanging up the phone, Li Kui smiled even more, touching his chin and secretly said. This college entrance examination is interesting. With that, he turned around and went back to the yamen. At the same time, Chen Ang also returned home. As soon as he got home and closed the door, Chen Ang couldn't help but go back to the room excitedly and took out all the 2 space bags in the space ring. And take out all the things inside and put them on the bed to check them one by one. The more he looked, the more excited Chen Ang's face became. Hey, in the novels I read before I traveled, it was said that the mage was very rich, and it seems that it is true now. It's just a first-order mage, there are so many good things. What is this? Magic book, recording magic. Unfortunately, this thing is useless to the gifted. This is meditation. Chen Ang picked up another book and opened it to understand the contents, with a look of surprise in his eyes. Meditation is the cultivation method of the masters, which enhances the spiritual power. However, after Chen Ang tried practicing for a while, he couldn't help frowning. It's weird. It's the same as when I visualized it before. It feels sour. It seems that I can't cultivate. The sourness is very obvious. This made Chen Ang very puzzled. I don't know why it's causing this sour feeling. When there is a chance, maybe you can go to Uncle Li and ask. Having said that, Chen Ang shook his head, put down the meditation method, and looked at other things. The 2 mage space bags. There are also some beautifully patterned gold coins, which should be currencies of other worlds, and are also useful in this world, just melt them. In addition, there are various materials, as well as 2 bottles of spirit potions, and a bottle of strengthening potions. Psychotropic potion to enhance spiritual power. The strengthening potion strengthens the physical attributes. In addition, there are also materials. A drop of water from the fountain of life. Blooming fruit X1. The branches and leaves of the tree of life X1. I posted it. After reading all the gains, Chen Ang couldn't hold back his inner excitement. If it wasn't for the fear of disturbing the people, Chen Ang would have laughed out loud at this time. It's too rich. It can be said that the harvest this time allowed Chen Ang to directly gather the materials to activate the characteristics of the dead dragon arm. Are people in other worlds so rich? Chen Ang couldn't help but think so. All right, more still heart. So excited that Chen Ang couldn't help but think about it. If he wants to see life in other worlds in the future, he will kill him first. Certainly. This is probably just a thought. This time is also lucky to meet. At ordinary times, it is not so easy to meet life in other worlds. Call. Taking a deep breath, Chen Ang stopped talking nonsense. Pick up a bottle of psychoactive potion and take it directly. A cool feeling poured into the body. Afterwards, the coolness seemed to slowly rise to the mind and integrate into the spirit. It's worthy of being a potion studied by mages. Chen Ang was surprised. He could clearly feel the improvement in his spiritual power. After a while, the feeling fades. Chen Ang picked up the second bottle. Just when I was about to take it, a prompt appeared in front of me. If you don't want to block your mental strength, it is recommended to take the second bottle after 2 days. Mental blockage. No wonder it feels weird. Chen Ang patted his head, put down the spirit potion, and picked up the strengthening potion instead. There is nothing wrong with this thing, so Chen Ang can drink it with confidence. The fiery feeling appeared in the body, and began to spread to the limbs, to every corner of the body. It was as if a furnace was burning in the body. It made Chen Ang feel warm. But this feeling comes and goes quickly. When it faded completely, Chen Ang grinned, clenched his fist and waved. The whirring sound of breaking the air kept ringing. Not a small improvement. This is the feeling Chen Ang got. However, it depends on the properties. Therefore, Chen Ang's heart moved. His own attributes emerge before his eyes. Chen Ang. Body, 175 pull, 500. Force, 173 pull, 500. Min, 175 pull, 500. Fine, 170 pull, 500. Talent, Dead Dragon Arm characteristics, Armor Break, Dragon Muscle Double Strength Increase. Skill, Tier Claw Proficient 1.5 times the strength increase you need to increase your proficiency. Hey, so strong. Seeing his own attributes, Chen Ang's eyes widened and his heart was excited. It's a pity that there is no enemy now, otherwise Chen Ang would still like to experience how strong his strongest blow is now. Next, it's time to prepare to activate the feature. Chen Ang murmured, took a deep breath, and picked up the materials to prepare. In a short while, a medicinal liquid was made. Chen Ang manipulated his right arm into a dead dragon arm and soaked it. And as the dead dragon arm began to soak, the black mist was surging to the naked eye. Faintly, something is changing. Obviously, this is feature activation. But it will take another 2 days to fully activate it. Diwen City. The night is getting darker. Xie family mansion, in the hall. Xie Kangning looked at his father and said angrily, "Dad, you give me a few more people, that guy is not dead yet, I must let him die." He didn't expect Chen Ang to come out of the secret realm alive. And the scar face, but lost the news. Xie Kangning still knew what this represented. But it made him even more angry. An orphan can only provoke himself, so why not die? The ones I sent out were second-order talents. But that guy is also a waste, and he can't even kill a first-order talent. Heard. Xie Kangning's father raised his eyes, glanced at Xie Kangning calmly, and said indifferently, "Are you sure your classmate is an orphan?" "Yes, Dad, I will definitely not investigate this kind of news wrong. He is an orphan with no power behind it. If you say that, your classmate might still be a genius." Xie Anbong whispered to himself, his eyes flickering. Hearing this, Xie Kangning's face turned hideous. What about a genius? He didn't grow up, he was just an ant. To this, Xie Anbong is undeniable. He knew his son very well. From the beginning, he knew why his son wanted to kill Chen Ang. But it doesn't matter. His own son is destined to inherit the Xie family in the future. Before he grows up, there is nothing wrong with letting him play tricks and tricks. But I didn't expect Chen Ang to die. Even he was a little surprised. After the accident, there is also killing intent in my heart. Not to help Xie Kangning wash away the shame. As the head of the Xie family, he was not in the mood to play this kind of house. Everything is for the Xie family. A genius, fatherless, an orphan. There is no threat to this identity. But it is precisely because of this that Chen Ang is so powerful, isn't it? And it happens that the other party is a little closer to Li Leiyao, which will prevent Xie Kangning from pursuing Li Leiyao. If at the beginning, Xie Kangning said that Chen Ang hindered him from pursuing Li Leiyao, and as a father, he still didn't care. Now, he felt that if Chen Ang didn't die, it might really become a hindrance. After all, if his daughter got close to Chen Ang, he wouldn't mind matching it up. "Okay," Xie Anbong said calmly, "I will help you with Chen Ang's matter. As for you, the only requirement I have of you is to catch up with Li Leiyao. Besides, the college entrance examination is coming soon. When the time comes, you can get into a good university. Don't lose the face of the Xie family. Go down." Heard. Xie Kangning was stunned for a moment, then became ecstatic and nodded quickly. "Don't worry, Dad, as long as that guy doesn't entangle Li Leiyao all the time, I will definitely be able to pursue Li Leiyao." He patted his chest and looked very confident. In response, Xie Anbong just waved his hand and let Xie Kangning leave. He couldn't guarantee whether his son could pursue Li Liao. But success is best if you fail. Thinking of another plan of his own, Xie Anbong's eyes flickered. With Xie Kangning leaving, not long after, a figure walked in. Seeing this figure, Xie Anbong frowned slightly, but then stretched out and asked in a deep voice. What's up? 2 people died. Died, right. What do you want to do? Investigate. The people of Wangxing Pagoda cannot die in vain. Also, find out who killed it, in case you are noticed here. Hearing this, Xie Anbong nodded. I know, I will arrange this matter, but how's the plan going? Hearing this, the corner of the person's mouth twitched, and he believed. Don't worry, it's almost time, but you still need some souls. It won't be a problem to meet your needs at that time. But speaking, do you really stop thinking about becoming a noble mage? Your talent is still very good. And the so-called talent, in my opinion, must not be as good as mage, no matter how you evolve, it's just an experiment on the analyzing table of Lord Truth. Really, Xie Anbong sneered, but how did I hear that a gifted person tore apart a truth in the Battle of the Realm not long ago? Heard. The visitor was silent and looked gloomy. But then, he grinned lightly. It's up to you, I just hope you won't regret it in the future. HMPH, don't worry, I won't regret it. The other side. Xie Kangning left from his father. He grinned, with a hideous smile on his face. Oh, Chen Ang, this time I'll see how you live. Xie Kangning is very confident in his father. Once his father takes action, Chen Ang will die. He could already imagine that he woke up and learned the news of Chen Ang's tragic death at home. Thinking of this, Xie Kangning couldn't help but get excited, and he immediately lost the idea of going back to his room to sleep, so he called the driver. Get ready and take a trip to Zuichunlu with me. Ah, young master, at this time, the master generally does not allow you to go out. Shut up, am I the young master or are you the young master? Hurry up and drive. Yes. The driver nodded helplessly and agreed. Soon, a car drove away from the Xie family manor. Xie Kangning sat in the back seat. Unaware of the distance, 2 figures stared at the car. 1 male and 1 female, wearing a blood-colored robe. If someone is here, they may be shocked. Because the body of these 2 figures is filled with a strong bloody smell, it is almost difficult to cover them up. The woman bit the straw and inserted the head of the beast she was holding in her arms. After taking a deep breath, she couldn't help showing an intoxicated look and asked softly. Do you want to start? Heard. The man didn't answer, just handed over 2 photos. The woman took it, showing her doubts. The man explained. 1 photo is of Xie Kangning that the priest asked us to kill, and 1 photo is of the person in the car, and the only person in this city named Xie Kangning. Hearing this, the woman stretched out her bumpy body and chuckled. So what? Why don't you ask the priest which one he killed? Oh, I don't want to bear the wrath of the priest. That's not right. The woman's heart moved, and the head in her arms disappeared. She looked at the 2 photos with her left and right hands, and said coquettishly. No matter which one the priest wants us to kill, since they are all called Xie Kangning, then kill them all. I really want to taste the deliciousness of someone who can provoke the priest. Talking, she licked her lips, looking hot, but the temperature around her suddenly dropped several times and it was extremely cold. Heard. After a moment of silence, the man nodded. That's up to you. The next morning, Chen Ang yawned and woke up from his deep sleep. After getting up in a daze, he went to the bathroom to wash up, and ordered takeout. Then Chen Ang continued to make medicinal liquid and soak the dead dragon arm. After soaking, the takeaway also arrived. After breakfast, Chen Ang had no idea of going out. Instead, he practiced fighting techniques in the house. When you're tired, take out your phone and take a look. But when Chen Ang opened the chat software, he couldn't help being stunned. Class teacher. Last night, Xie Kangning was seriously injured and admitted to the hospital after being attacked by an unknown person. I hope other classmates take precautions, don't run around at night, and remember that although you have become talented people, it does not mean that you can ignore the danger. Zhao Sibo, can you still encounter danger in the city? Wouldn't it be a wanted criminal? Xiao Yiqing. Oh, Li Liao. Got it, teacher. Hu Kaili. The college entrance examination is coming soon. Now Xie Kangning is seriously injured. I don't know if I can take the college entrance examination. Class teacher. It shouldn't be a problem. Now ordinary medical equipment is not enough, and there are talented people. It's not as difficult to heal an injury as you think. But it's not as simple as you think, right? To put it bluntly, you still need money. But the Xie family is not short of this money. But Xie Kangning is fine, why did you suddenly get attacked? Chen Ang touched his chin and thought carefully, and after a while, his eyes lit up. Is it the blood cult? Tisk tisk, I guess it is, so soon. It's brutal. It seems that I have to be careful in the next few days to avoid accidents. But this blood sect is not very good. It didn't kill Xie Kangning. Thinking like this, Chen Ang walked out of the house and looked around. Don't say it. It seems that because of Xie Kangning's attack, there are many more people in the patrol team on the street outside, which is a lot more reassuring. Go back to the house. Chen Ang lowered his mind and continued to practice. After all, the college entrance examination is coming soon. In the next time, it is better to master the attack technique first. When you get into a good university, you will be able to see a wider world. Chen Ang is still very much looking forward to this. As for Xie Kangning, Chen Ang sneered and ignored it. Next, there are opportunities. Time has passed, and an eye has passed. In a blink of an eye, it was a week before the college entrance examination. According to the agreed time, Chen Ang had to go back to school. Early morning, Chen Ang left home to go to school after breakfast, yawning and doubts flashing in his eyes. It's been peaceful these few days, and I haven't seen anyone from the blood sect attack me. Could it be that they don't know my existence? Forget it, I don't want that much. Shaking his head, Chen Ang didn't bother anymore. In the past few days, his harvest is not small. With a move in my heart, the attribute panel appeared in front of me. Chen Ang. Body. 191 pull, 500. Force. 195 pull, 500. Min. 194 pull, 500. Essence. 221 pull, 500. Talent. Dead dragon arm characteristics. Armor break, dragon muscle twice the strength increase stealing life. Skills. Tier claws proficient 1.5 times the strength increase you need to increase your proficiency, fighting. Dead dragon arm feature, has been activated. When the attributes reach the limit, they can evolve. The second talent has not yet been decided. And the attribute, because of the spiritual potion, Chen Ang's spiritual power attribute is the strongest at present. But other attributes are not bad. As far as Chen Ang's strength is concerned, ordinary second-order talents can easily solve it. If the dragon muscle and tearing claws are added, the third-order talent can also fight with full force. If it is a weak third-order talent, it can be easily solved. Thinking room. Unconsciously, Chen Ang had arrived at the school gate. Step into the campus and come to a classroom. There were only a few scattered people inside. All are gifted. After seeing Chen Ang, many people looked at him, some joking, some mocking, some curious, and some happy. After all, Chen Ang's awakened dragon claw talent seems hopeless to many people, and it will inevitably make people feel a sense of superiority when facing Chen Ang. As for the joy of seeing Chen Ang, it is naturally Li Leiyao and Xiao Yiqing. Chen Ang, here. Li Leiyao immediately waved at Chen Ang, patted the seat next to him, and invited Chen Ang to come over. Seeing this scene, the expression of the person on the other side suddenly became gloomy. It's Xie Kangning. Glancing at Chen Ang with resentful eyes, he immediately retracted and took a deep breath to suppress the killing intent in his heart. He cursed inwardly. If he hadn't been attacked, his father wouldn't have devoted all his energy to those two guys who were going to kill him. Chen Ang may have died a few days ago. Thinking of this, Xie Kangning was inexplicably angry at the two guys who were going to kill him, but at the same time, there was also a trace of fear. The two blood-red figures he saw that night appeared in his mind, and Xie Kangning shivered subconsciously. HMPH, what are you doing here? Chen Ang, come to me. Xiao Yiqing snorted tenderly and waved to Chen Ang. This time, another figure looked at Chen Ang, full of killing intent. It's Zhao Sibo. Before Chen Ang came, Xiao Yiqing had been sitting in the corner looking out the window with a dull expression. He wanted to chat with Xiao Yiqing several times, but he returned a scroll. But now, when Chen Ang came, Xiao Yiqing smiled. The bright smile on his face, like a flower, was not for him. Zhao Sibo almost went mad with envy in his heart, and even more jealous. He cursed inwardly like Xie Kangning. The most beautiful girls in the two classes were like this to Chen Ang, which made many people puzzled for a while. Chen Ang pouted, facing Li Leiyao and Xiao Yiqing's invitation, without any hesitation, walked to another seat and sat down. He didn't want to be thankless. After all, whoever sits there will offend the other. Might as well find a place to sit and clean. However, not long after Chen Ang sat down, two fragrant winds hit him. Good guy. Xiao Yiqing and Li Leiyao sat on either side of Chen Ang. Whether it is Xiao Yiqing or Li Leiyao, they are both school-level girls, and they are also talented. It is impossible to say that other boys are not interested. It can be said that this time, it attracted a lot of hatred to Chen Ang. Chen Ang, what are you doing these days? After glaring at Xiao Yiqing, Li Leiyao asked Chen Ang. Hearing this, Xiao Yiqing also looked over curiously. What else can I do? Training. Chen Ang spread his hands and said casually. Hearing this, there were other students laughing next to him. Still training. What good training is there? A waste talent. There is no possibility of evolution. I would have been rotten long ago. The person who spoke was Dai Zixuan. While sneering at Chen Ang's words, he glanced at the girls on the left and right of Chen Ang, with jealousy flashing in his eyes. That's why he said those words. He's obviously just a piece of trash who can't see any hope for the future. Why is he so popular with school beauties? Chen Ang raised his eyes and looked over. Facing Chen Ang's gaze, Dai Zixuan was not afraid at all and sneered. What, am I right? To this, Chen Ang just put his hands on his shoulders and said calmly. You're a little noisy. Dai Zixuan frowned, then grinned, just as he was about to open his mouth to continue mocking. Swish. Chen Ang disappeared. When he reappeared, Chen Ang was already in front of Dai Zixuan, and his calm eyes made Dai Zixuan shiver subconsciously. But then he came back to his senses and sneered. What do you want to do? Just wanted you to be quiet, Chen Ang said with a smile. But as soon as the voice fell, his right hand was raised. With a snap, with a slap, a bright red slap print appeared on Dai Zixuan's face. A crisp slap sounded in the classroom, making everyone stunned. Including Dai Zixuan himself. When he came back to his senses, it was more of a shame. In front of everyone's eyes, he was slapped by a trash. In an instant, he had the idea of killing Chen Ang, and even stimulated his talent. But, if you want to die, I can do it for you too. Chen Ang's cold voice sounded. Those cold eyes, but the anger in Dai Zixuan's heart disappeared instantly. He felt it. Killing intent. Strong killing intent. Chen Ang, who has killed many people in the secret realm, now has a clear killing intent on his body. The beast that died in his hands accumulated a suffocating aura for him. It's not visible on weekdays, but when Chen Ang wants to kill, this breath will burst out. At this moment, Dai Zixuan felt it. After all, he is a student. He even went to the secret realm once after his awakening, and he came back after a while. Facing Chen Ang, even if he had just been humiliated, he couldn't have the courage to confront him. Only under Chen Ang's gaze, his eyes dodged. Seeing this, Chen Ang retracted his gaze and turned around to slowly walk to his seat. So handsome, Xiao Yiqing couldn't help but say after Chen Ang sat down, her eyes glowing with color. Li Leiyao frowned and asked, will you be blamed by the teacher? Will not. Chen Ang shook his head and said indifferently. Don't forget, we are gifted. The grievances between talented people can't be solved without force, but can't be solved with words. The essence of this world is the supremacy of strength. This is also the reason why he is too lazy to listen to those people. With that strength, why can't it be tyrannical and directly suppress everyone with strength? Seeing how good it is now, with a slap, some students who originally looked at Chen Ang with disdain, did not dare to look here. Hearing this, Li Leiyao nodded thoughtfully. Tread tap. Suddenly, footsteps sounded. Immediately afterwards, the figure of the head teacher came from outside the classroom, stepped on the podium and said, classmates, you should have all grown up some time ago. The college entrance examination is just around the corner. In order to help you improve your combat effectiveness faster, the school will start a week-long combat training. During this period, the school will arrange a gifted instructor for you. Okay, everyone, follow me to the number 2 playground, which will be your next training ground. Done. The head teacher turned to leave. All students immediately got up and followed. When I came to the second venue, I could see a strong figure standing there, with an aura of iron blood. From the military, Chen Ang muttered in his heart. The head teacher stepped forward and smiled. Instructor Lee, they will be handed over to you next. It is good. Instructor Lee nodded indifferently. However, the head teacher nodded reassuringly. When the head teacher left, Instructor Lee suddenly looked at everyone with a serious look and shouted abruptly. Everyone, stand up immediately. Accompanied by the words, a suffocating aura erupted. The strong suffocating aura made it known that the instructor killed a lot of lives. At the same time, many students turned pale and quickly stood up. When his eyes swept over a student and Chen Ang, Instructor Lee's eyes flashed with surprise, but he nodded in satisfaction and said, "Next, I will be your instructor. My mission is only one. Teach you how to fight, and help you develop the most appropriate training method. But before that, I have to determine the talent and specific strength of each of you, so I have to choose one person to fight with others. Is there anyone willing to take the initiative?" The students looked at each other, but no one came forward. The instructor was not surprised by this, but the corners of his mouth twitched. Since no one takes the initiative to stand up, then I will kill me. It's just you. Instructor Lee shouted directly at Chen Ang. Seeing this, Chen Ang touched his nose and looked helpless, but he still walked in front of Instructor Lee. What's your name? The instructor asked. Chen Ang. Chen Ang. Very good. The instructor nodded, patted Chen Ang on the shoulder, then looked at the others and said, "Okay, next, each of you will play one game with him, and if he loses, the next one. If he loses, it will be replaced by someone else. Who will come first?" As soon as these words came out, Chen Ang probably knew that his strength was detected by this instructor. However, Chen Ang didn't expect that the instructor would even think of letting him play wheel battles. Just as Chen Ang was wondering if he wanted to win a game, and then he deliberately lost, someone immediately spoke up. "I come. It's Zhao Sibo." Hearing the sound, the instructor directly waved him up. Zhao Sibo immediately rubbed his fists and walked towards Chen Ang step by step. The anger in those eyes made Chen Ang feel strange. Did I beat him? Chen Ang touched his chin and thought. But when Zhao Sibo passed him by, Chen Ang knew the reason. When you lose, just get out of the way, don't stick to Xiao Yiqing like a mangy dog. The sound is very light. But Chen Ang still heard it. At the same time as his eyes were stunned, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Under the arrangement of the instructor, the two confronted each other, and the others vacated their positions. Immediately afterwards, the instructor stood between the two and said, "Okay, you two, let's get started." The sound fell. Zhao Sibo directly started without any hesitation. He is a talent for speed. Motivated by talent at this moment, he rushed towards Chen Ang at an extremely fast speed, and charged in front of Chen Ang like an afterimage. With disdain in his eyes, he punched Chen Ang's cheek with a punch. With the whistling sound of breaking through the air, it could be seen that Zhao Sibo had no mercy. If it were an ordinary person, facing Zhao Sibo's speed, he would probably be hit without even the speed of his reaction. But Chen Ang turned sideways, and Zhao Sibo's fist brushed past his eyes. Immediately afterwards, Chen Ang raised his right leg, and a whip leg swept away, hitting Zhao Sibo's abdomen directly. Even without the use of talent, Chen Ang's own attributes are extremely powerful. Under one leg, Zhao Sibo was blasted out with a bang, like a broken kite, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth, hitting the ground heavily, struggling a few times but not getting up. Chen Ang looked calm and spoke on behalf of the instructor. "Go on, next." "Hey, you kid," the instructor laughed. However, he still waved to the other students, indicating the next one. Then he touched his chin and muttered to himself. "It's kind of interesting, this kid, he just woke up and reached the second rank. I thought it was a superficial thing, but I saw that the attack just now didn't use talent, and the faint breath, no accident, is the limit evolution. I don't know what this guy's talent is, but he found out his characteristics so easily. He just came to this school. No specific student profile is known yet. In other words, the college has not sent the documents of the student file." With Zhao Sibo being defeated by one blow, All the other students had shocked expressions in their eyes. But under the command of the instructor, there were still people on the field. Hey, I'm here to be your opponent. Xiao Yiqing walked up to Chen Ang and said with a smile. Chen Ang raised his eyebrows without saying a word. Xiao Yiqing took a deep breath and assumed a fighting stance. Be careful. The voice fell, Xiao Yiqing's body surged, and then he waved his hand. The dust on the ground spun wildly, turning into a whirlwind and hitting Chen Ang. Spinning talent. Consume mental power to cast, can rotate all things. A look of surprise flashed in Chen Ang's eyes. He didn't try to resist the blow in a foolish way, but stepped out one step and dodged directly. The terrifying speed made the whirlwind dust sand unable to catch up with Chen Ang at all. Hu Kai. A cracking sound rang out. Chen Ang attacked Xiao Yiqing. Xiao Yiqing was not surprised by this, but waved again at the moment Chen Ang struck. The gust of wind swept through and turned into a whirlwind like a barrier in front of him. Chen Ang's brows were slightly wrinkled, but then the corners of his mouth twitched, and he quickly changed direction, attacking from the side with a faster speed, and punching out. Bang! Xiao Yiqing was blown away. However, Chen Ang showed mercy and did not let Xiao Yiqing end up with Zhao Sibo. I surrendered, but I can't beat it. After Xiao Yiqing got up, he raised his hand and said without any hesitation. Then Li Leiyao. However, Li Leiyao had no idea of coming up to fight at all, and said helplessly to the instructor. Instructor, I am a talent for healing light, and I choose to cast it. Okay, go on, next one. The instructor understood and let the next one continue to play. Pity. In front of Chen Ang, no one is an opponent. Attribute rolling is too large. Basically, after the other players came on the field, they also beat Bei. Hey, he's so strong. Nonsense, they are Dragon Claw talent, and the first order Dragon Claw talent is already very strong, right? HMPH, it's only the first order. That is, after the second rank, everyone's strength improves, and they can obtain the second talent, It is estimated that he can only be the first rank in a lifetime. Let him be in the limelight now, he won't have a chance in the future anyway. Someone said in a sour tone. Few people can stand the feeling of being beaten and crushed. And it's still in plain sight. Xiao Yiqing put his hands on his shoulders and joked at the man. If you have the ability, go and talk to others face to face. You're a little girl behind me. Hearing the words, the man's face darkened. His mouth moved, but he kept it closed and didn't speak any more. Talk to Chen Ang face to face. Only fools go. He didn't want to be slapped by Chen Ang. In this regard, Chen Ang naturally did not pay attention, and his eyes were placed on Xie Kangning. Next, it was him against Xie Kangning. HMPH, get ready to be beaten by me, Chen Ang. Xie Kangning said with a gloomy expression. Hearing this, Chen Ang's mouth twitched. To be honest, you don't deserve it. Humph. Xie Kangning snorted coldly without saying much. Just thinking that it won't be long before Chen Ang will die at the hands of his father, he couldn't help but grin and show a cold smile. Immediately afterwards, he stepped out, his right arm turned into a rock arm, and he punched. I have to say that Xie Kangning is also very strong. After all, the family has a lot of assets, and they have eaten some treasures of heaven and earth, and their attributes are not low. With the support of the stone arm, this punch is even more powerful. But in the face of this punch, Chen Ang's face didn't change, he just made a fist with his right hand and threw it out. Roll. A low voice. Under the outbreak of terror. A click. What? Painful voices came from Xie Kangning's mouth. Then the whole person flew out, fell to the ground and hugged his right arm, groaning in pain, and completely lost his fighting power. Seeing this scene, the instructor angrily called the two to carry Xie Kangning to the infirmary, and then looked at Chen Ang and said, You're a bit ruthless, you just broke the bones of your hand. No way, it's a little personal grudge. Chen Ang shrugged. Hearing this, the instructor nodded and said no more. Not to punish Chen Ang. Just like what Chen Ang said before. The essence of this world is that strength is respected. Powerful, can say anything. Especially students, with strong strength, it means that you are more qualified than others, have high potential, and have good talents. It's just a matter of injuring a student, as long as you don't kill it, there won't be a big problem. Of course, it is possible to be more ruthless, but it is definitely impossible to do so in front of people. The test will end soon. After the instructor asked everyone to continue to stand, he opened his mouth. Yes, your talent and strength, I probably understand something. Next, I will make a training plan for you. From now on, except for Chen Ang, everyone will run 100 laps around the playground, do 500 push-ups, and do 500 sit-ups. When will they finish? When will school be over, and the real training will start tomorrow? As for Chen Ang, you come with me. Chen Ang was puzzled. But he still nodded and followed the instructor to leave the number 2 playground. All the way to the deserted number 3 playground. The instructor turned around to look at Chen Ang and said seriously, "Come on, I'll play with you next." What? Chen Ang was stunned. The instructor was not in a good mood. What's so good about it? Can't you think I'm blind? I didn't use all my strength just now. How can I make a training plan if you don't use all my strength? Those students definitely can't make you use all your strength. It's not just me who can do it myself. Hearing this, Chen Ang was stunned, scratching his head and showing an embarrassed yet polite smile. Okay, don't smirk, hurry up. The instructor hurriedly urged, and a faint breath emanated from his body. Feeling this breath, Chen Ang's expression became serious. I see. After winning, Chen Ang exhaled a breath, and also put on a fighting posture, his whole body tense. Seeing this, the instructor grinned, revealing an expectant smile. Come on kid, let me see how strong you are, and what your talent is, it's best to use it. Will do. Chen Ang smiled and nodded. The moment the sound fell, the sound of breaking the air sounded. Chen Ang has already rushed out. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.